Well, we're back. Hello, everybody. I am Jay with Guilty of Crime, and we are back. We made it halfway through the week. Hope y'all can hear me okay. Do me a favor, hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't, and get a membership if you can. All right, guys, I got the goal up there. It's midweek. I'm feeling fantastic. We're gearing up for CrimeCon 2026. And Patricia, do a big shout out to Patricia for making a flyer and putting together, or what she's planning to put together, guys, is a giant crime crew party in Vegas. What's better than that? Now y'all know you need to get there. Patricia, good to see you. Let me know if I can show the flyer that you sent me. Just pop it up there today so people can see. We're going to party down in Vegas for CrimeCon, and y'all are invited. This is the real deal. So thank you. Let me know what's up. Good to see you, Marie Joy, Maggie, of course, Patricia, Indy Isha, my girl. Big hugs to you, all of you. Kristen Perry, Miss Corinne. I know Mama Pearl's in the house. Wolfpack, what's up? Where's Petty? Wolfpack and Petty always go together. I haven't talked to Petty or seen her in a while, but I hope she's doing okay. What's up, Wolfpack? How you doing? Wolfpack used to mod for us, but we still love her because I think she took a break. She's back today. Twin Mommy, how you doing? Mama Pearl, love you. You're like number 10 here, you say? Kimmy, Kel. Guys, we got a insane show today. Jinx, how you doing? Hey, Crime Crew and Jay, I'm here. I'm just a little busy. What's up? Hi from San Jose, says Gilda. Well, I'm from San Jose, so hello from San Jose to San Jose, California. CrimeCon 2026 is in Las Vegas this year, May 29th through the 31st. Oh man, Wolfpack. No, we're gonna have to catch up. Don't sass back. What's up? How you doing? Right? So we're here for. We've got a flyer. There's gonna be a party going down. Ganja Girl, Patricia. Now listen, you gotta be part of the crime crew, obviously, to be involved. So if you don't like Guilty of Crime or you're not part of that, well, you're not invited. But the people that are here are absolutely invited. And take a look at this. This is the first pass at. It's beautiful, by the way. I'm not sure exactly. Hold on, let me move this. Let me remove this and put that up there. Let me pull this down a little. It's beautiful. CrimeCon, guys. I brought it up from here, but let me bump this down. Oh, no, I didn't want to show that. I'm sorry. Okay, there it is. Welcome to CrimeCon dinner for Guilty of Crime, hosted by Patricia F. Beautiful. Friday, May 29th, 2026. Right now, we say from 6:30 p.m. until whenever your heart desires at the Bellagio Hotel in Las Vegas. Buffet dinner, open bar, DJ and music, and you can bring a guest. You just have to RSVP by May 8th, 2026. And her email's down here, Mrs. Farillo at gmail.com. All right. We will put we will put all the proper things in place to get you guys going and to RSVP. But this is a first pass and it's beautiful. So guess what, guys? Whether or not we have a booth is going to depend, or a table depends on what CrimeCon approves and says. Either way, we're still doing it. We're still doing it up at CrimeCon without a table or not. So thank you, Patricia, for that beautiful flyer that we're going to narrow down and let everybody know. Anna, good to see you. Jen's a gypsy. All right, we're going to remove that because today, guys, we're talking about the JonBenét Ramsey case. And number one question, never thought I would even be in this predicament. Y'all know that the Epstein files were released, and people are not happy because many are not only redacted, but many of them didn't even get to us. They got blocked. There's a lot of controversy around that. And people are claiming that JonBenét is in the Epstein file photos. And I'm going to show you what that's all about. Not only that, guys, but there is finally new DNA rulings and fresh leads that we're going to explain today. So, also, we're talking about the suspects that we've had in this case, and something I can't get off my mind is her father, John. And it's like the red dress situation, right? Or the gray dress and the green dress, where you hear it one way and you can't unhear it. Well, I caught this in my last episode when John Ramsey was talking about he called it the garrote. I think he pronounced it incorrectly, but the point was, what he said was the garrote that we strangled her with. And then other people say that, they're saying the garrote that was used to strangle her. So, guys, huge episode today. We're going to talk about JonBenét. Is she really in the Epstein files? I'm going to show you those, redacted and unredacted. We're going to talk about the new DNA rulings in the case and the fresh leads that are out there. Again, guys, I got to tell you, this has been a long time coming. It's been nearly 29 years, and listen to the date. It's been 29 years and 34 days, nearly 30 years. Now, JonBenét Ramsey's death was on December 25th, 1996. Now, investigators are saying that this new DNA testing, the re-interviews, and a private detective with a spreadsheet has produced fresh leads in the case. And this just came out last night, and it's ongoing today. So those leads are narrowing down the suspect list. Now, no charges have been announced yet. But when I tell you about these photographs, that literal photographs from the Epstein files labeled EFTA 0000216, they're all identified by a number. Okay. And that's what brings me to the first part of what we're talking about is JonBenét Ramsey in those files? Right now, the times line up. Everything is a possibility of lining up. Although we're going to hear from John Ramsey and what he has to say. This case is just wild up until the 30-year mark. How does that happen? Rachel Burton, member for 12 months. Love you. Thank you for being here. You have been following this case for a long time, and I think a lot of us have been. And I'm actually excited to hear that a almost 30-year-old case may be solved by DNA. And what they think is that's what they're leaning towards, which I'm going to give you all the evidence today. All right, Sunshine, that's okay. Thank you. But Jay's talking about the party in Vegas. I'm not sure what Sunshine said, but before we even started the episode, yes, we're having a CrimeCon party in Vegas. All right. And it's crazy. It happened so long ago, and yet we're correlating JonBenét, her presence and her pictures inside the Epstein files. All right. So it's been crazy. We're going to, like I said, we're going to do the rumors. We're going to debunk the junk and go over all the new DNA leads and fresh everything. Everything's so fresh and so clean, how we like it. What's up, Cheeky? All right, guys, trigger warning per usual. This case always is very triggering. All right. So let's go. Hit that like button, subscribe, get yourself a membership, share with the community. A lot of communities follow this case, and every time there's a new update, rumor, or speculation. All right. So, I mean, that's just right there alone. I said, what happened? Where did this case go wrong? All right. So now we've got evidence, and I'm going to show it to you in a bit. EFT, and then it's all labeled 000. Now, those are from the DOJ, and those were released in the Epstein files, showing a framed hallway photo inside of Epstein's New York residence. The image depicts Epstein carrying a young girl on his shoulders, but the child's face is redacted in those photos. And investigators and journalists are saying that they don't know if the child is JonBenét Ramsey or who it is, because they redacted it. But John Ramsey has something to say about that. Now, how the heck did that happen? Well, the Epstein files were released, guys, and a TikToker claimed that the girl resembled JonBenét Ramsey. Then rumors spread, and the unredacted version, the EFTAA000214, came out, and now we're just moving full force with what source and how credible are they, and why are they intertwining the two? Now, John Ramsey has directly addressed the rumor, and we're going to get into that as well. We're going to talk about, well, we're talking about now the pictures, and then besides that, the timeline of it, the people of interest. You guys know this happened in Boulder, Colorado. And you know, hopefully, if you know this case, on Christmas, her cause of death is asphyxia by strangulation and cranial trauma. All right, we know the case drew national attention. The focus was the family's home, the ransom note, and the evidence collected at the scene. However, back then, there was nothing you can do with the DNA evidence, and all we knew is if it was a male or a female, blood type O, blood. That's all we can tell. All right, now let's fast forward to literally 10,626 days later, and we have people of interest that we've looked at, one being John Ramsey, one being Patsy Ramsey, one being Burke Ramsey. Then we've got John Mark Carr, who confessed to killing JonBenét, but was ultimately cleared through a DNA match. It didn't match. All right, now we've got unnamed intruders that are coming up, and I'm going to talk to you about that in a minute. New theories are driven by a spreadsheet of data claiming links to the case, etc. And there are new DNA rulings and fresh leads. They retested with new methods, and Boulder police have reported that the case is evolving, and the new technology, new interviews, and re-interviews are sparking this case up. All right, bottom line, this case is unsolved, right? It's unsolved at this point. The recent activity centers around the rumors, the DNA testing, and the interviews, right along with the private investigator. Again, no charges have been brought forward, but it seems we might be getting closer. All right, so let's get into it. All right, what's up, Jay? I'm from Michigan. Love you guys. And what's up, Shadow Lion? I'm a lion, and you hear me roar. I love you guys. We have one in chat. Let's say a prayer that JonBenét Ramsey gets the justice she deserved. She didn't while she was here, because in my opinion, I feel like she was heavily exploited and still is to this day. All right, MM Clark, good to see you, my friend. Much love. Are you coming to CrimeCon? Anyway, let me know in chat who's going to CrimeCon, because we having a party, folks. All right, so I'm going to start with this just so you could think about it just for a second. I want you to think about what I'm saying and what he says, because we're going to go over it again. But I want you to listen to this carefully. John Ramsey admits to the murder of JonBenét. We used to strangle my daughter, and we're talking about the garrote or garrote, whatever you want to call that. I'm going to turn it all the way up, bring this down, let you listen to it for a couple times, and then I'm not even going to respond to it. We're going to move on. I just want this to sink in, because we'll revisit it in a bit.
If certain evidence that was taken from the crime scene has never been sampled, then it ought to be. The main one being the garrote that was used to strangle my daughter. The main one being the garrote that was used to strangle my daughter. If certain evidence that was taken from the crime scene has never been sampled, then it ought to be. The main one being the garrote that was used to strangle my daughter. The main one being the garrote that was used to strangle my daughter. If certain evidence that was taken from the crime scene has never been sampled, then it ought to be. The main one being the garrote that was used to strangle my daughter.
All right, so again, what you hear, is that a slip of a tongue? Freudian slip? Does it have to do with him knowing the murder? I've listened to it probably 100 times today on different versions, and I can't unhear "we used to strangle my daughter." We used to strangle my daughter. One more time, and then we'll revisit that, because we have a big show today that has a lot more coming.
The main one being the garrote that was used to strangle my daughter. If certain evidence that was taken from the crime scene has never been sampled that it ought to be. The main one being the GoRo.
All right, we're gonna go over it again. So all opinions are welcome. I appreciate it. Indy Isham, everybody else. I really just want to know where. And again, we're gonna go over. This is not AI, Kel. I'm gonna bring it back to you guys in another clip. It is not AI. This is real. I've checked 5, 6, 7, 8 different sources, but let's keep going. What's up, horsing around? Like I said, that this is not the topic of today, but it was interesting to put this in there as we know, as we're covering the case and the updates to it. So that's been circulating, and the Epstein, which I'm going to get into right now as well. And then we're going to get into the fresh new DNA evidence. All right. So if that's any indication of how this episode's going to go, well, there you go, guys. Love you. All right, let's bring this up and just get into it. I mean, this case has boggled a lot of people for years. And I'm on X. I follow Jennifer Coffendorfer, right? X FBI. She's been on my channel. She's on every channel. All right, so update from Boulder Police, more like word salad, previous with no real update. I've also included another interview conducted by E. Vargas. I'm going to play that for you guys. And I need you to see the ransom note with the writing on this and the photo of JonBenet's undergarments. Now, recall a decade ago, JonBenét was killed on 12/25/1996. Both Patsy and JonBenét Ramsey were indicted, guys. If you forgot, they were indicted for child abuse, leading to the death of JonBenét. But the district attorney or DA at the time refused to sign the indictment, and it just went away. Now, there was unknown male touch DNA found under one of JonBenét's fingernails and on her underwear/tights. This led the district attorney to releasing the Ramseys as suspects by the DA's office. But certainly the police who investigated the case and many other experts believe Patsy wrote the note and was involved. I was thinking about the DNA. They were all at a party the night before. The touch DNA under one fingernail could be anyone's DNA who she touched at that party. Now, as for the bloomers style underwear, there were sizes 12 and were from a Christmas present that was still in the house that Patsy had purchased for her niece. How would any stranger know about that present, open that present, and put them on JonBenét? Did you guys know that? Had she wet her size 6 bloomers and was being punished, forced to wear size 12 underwear in shame? Or was JonBenét wearing her size 6 bloomers when she was assaulted with Patsy's paintbrush and then red rummed and the underwear were disposed of and the size 12 placed on JonBenét for ease of redressing her? Kind of like what happened in the Delphi case. It's difficult to manipulate a deceased stiff body. All right. Remember the Delphi case, and little and the victims had each of their clothes on. Okay. They had, one was naked and the other one had her clothes on. All right. And the name's Abby, and it's escaping me right now, but we know the Delphi case. You guys can drop it down there. Abby and Libby and Abby. All right. Now listen, Patsy wrote that 3-page ransom note, in my view, and this is a post I'm reading. Why would a stranger know where to find Patsy's stationery and then spend 20 to 30 minutes writing a ransom note and then kill JonBenét? Either your motive is SA, you guys know what that is, red rum, or it's money. I think Patsy, and again, I'm reading this, I think Patsy panicked and wrote the note errantly, thinking it would serve to cover up what happened. I guess it actually worked because no one's ever been convicted and likely never will be. That's not my opinion. Think of JonBenét this Christmas season, which just passed, and the fact that justice has not been served or was never served. And then let's listen to the Colorado police. But I want you guys to just I just wanted to show this up on the screen and take a look at the handwriting. It's all in one slot. I wish I could make it bigger. but you understand. She had the other girl's clothes on as if she hastily. Well, that's what happens when you have to dress somebody as well that's passed away. Faith repents, bird of the feathers flock together. They're all definitely part of these sick elitist pedophiles. Thank you so much, Shadow Lion. Good to see everybody. Come on in, relax, hang out. Clar says, "Hey, beautiful J mods in chat, love you, and I love you too." I texted you earlier today, by the way. All right, let me pull this down, and I got more. I'm not gonna pull this down. I'm just gonna bring. I want to put those up for you. Those are the panties that they were referring to. We had a size pair of 6 panties and a size pair of 12 panties. So I want you to take a look at that. Let me bring it so you can see it a little better. Those were in evidence, and both of them look like they have secretion or pee stains on them in the spots that are yellow. Okay. I could not zoom in on that one, Clementine, but we'll continue on with the notes. Maybe someone can I can't dig around right now, but maybe someone can send me that's not the focal point, but if someone wants to send me a better ransom note that's bigger, please do. Again, not the focal point here today. And I've got 7 other episodes, 6, 7 other episodes in my playlist. Check the description and you'll find all of them so you can go back and look at all that because there's a lot. All right. They do look huge. I've never seen these photos before, Mo says, and rightfully so. If you go onto my channel on Ghost, I've got all of the photos and then ones you're never going to want to see. Kylie's nail candy. What's up, my girl? Good to see you. Glad you're here. Hit that like button. Saucy skin. All right. Yeah. Jay from Guilty of Crime, which I'm weird. I'm talking about myself. Always tries to bring you the latest. And then if it's not the latest, stuff that you've never seen and I've never seen. I'm here to learn with you. All right. So both pee stains on them, as you can tell. And these are really old photos from 1996. Right. But you look at them, look at the condition, look at the size. Right. And I can't, that's just, it's not letting me zoom in on it. But like I said, it's not the focal point. So if I can find another one, I will. Then there's JonBenét. Oh, we got to hear this real quick from Boulder. They just made this announcement December 2025, right before Christmas this year. So that's how I knew this case was going to kick back up, because I knew they were testing new evidence. If you go back to my video before this, I think it was in December. And again, the whole playlist is in the description. Let's hear what Boulder Police Department have to say about this case that's happening right now before us. All new stuff, guys, all right?
Hello, my name is Stephen Redfern, and I serve as the police chief for the city of Boulder, Colorado. I'm speaking on behalf of the Boulder Police Department, as I did this time last year, to give you an update about the ongoing investigation into the tragic murder of JonBenét Ramsey. JonBenét was murdered in December of 1996, and our officers responded to investigate. While I was not at the Boulder Police Department then, I've worked in policing for more than 25 years, and I want to assure the community that our agency is committed to doing everything we can to bring justice to JonBenét and hold her killer responsible. My direction to our department has been clear. Leave no stone unturned. Follow the leads wherever they go. Engage with and use outside partners' resources and expertise, and never stop working to bring justice in this case.
Again, this just kicked up right before the new year. And that's how I knew things were going to start moving a lot faster. And that's the same with the case that we covered yesterday. They told us, Monday, in the David case, that they were going to start a grand jury in February. Today is January 28th, 2026. All right. So a lot of things happening in 2026 with these old cases.
Last year, we gave you an update about a lot of the work that has been done to solve this crime, and those efforts have continued. This case remains a top priority for our department. This past year, our detectives have conducted several new interviews, as well as re-interviewed individuals based on tips that we've received. We've also collected new evidence and tested and retested other pieces of evidence to generate new leads. Techniques and technology
And that's what we're talking about today. Exactly what he's talking about. Those fresh leads and interviews and witnesses. That's all in today's episode.
Constantly evolve. This is especially true with technology related to DNA testing. Detectives continue to consult with outside experts from across the country, as well as our state and federal partners, to strategize and explore all options when it comes to evidence testing. This will ensure we continue to use the most forensically sound and up-to-date methods in all aspects of the investigation.
Come on, let's bring it home.
I've also met personally with the Ramsey family to let them know about some of this work.
Aw, love you too.
I told them that we share the same goal, to find and bring JonBenét's murderer to justice. Our detectives will not stop following up on every lead and every tip until that person or persons is found. While we cannot go into the specifics of who we interviewed, what we tested, and what we've learned without compromising this active investigation.
Oh, we can't in this interview, but we are now. And I want to say about the Challenger explosion. Today is the anniversary of it. I remember when that happened. I was born in 1979, so I was 7 years old when that happened. I absolutely remember it. Prayers for those people and the families involved. Mab, I did not see your show today. I didn't see did you come on today? Renee says, I'm getting old. Jay mentioned another site and referred to it as Ghost. What is that? Can anyone tell me what that means? I'm so embarrassed. Well, mods, girl, we've got another platform that if you've heard of Patreon, I replaced my Patreon with a platform called ghost.org. And on that ghost.org, girl, we can put anything, and those files and her autopsy, all kinds of stuff is over on Ghost, and you can go check it out. Mods, do we have mods in here today? Can you guys drop the link for the Ghost channel? I don't even know if I have mod. I see Synth here. Anyway, let's keep going. If not, I'll drop it for you.
Investigation. We know it's important to share this update with our community, and that is why I'm speaking to you today.
Thank you, Synth.
It is never too late for people with knowledge of this terrible crime to come forward, and I urge those responsible for this murder to contact us. Next year will be 30 years since JonBenet was murdered in her own home. She should be with us here today, living a full and happy life with her family. Let me be clear. The Boulder Police Department will continue to work diligently to investigate this crime,
yes, me too.
Follow up on every lead, and evaluate all technological advances that can help us solve this crime and bring JonBenét's killer or killers.
And right, he's not saying much right now because they were in the testing phase, in the re-interviewing phase, and crossing people off of that list
to justice.
All right, so that's it for him. Again, you guys got to see that what was called word salad here. Okay, so these are key pieces of evidence that they're using right now as the DNA. Of course, the fingernail, but that could have been anything. All right, so let's get to it. I'm going to go back and I'm going to show you the garrote we used to strangle my daughter. I want you guys to see, is that a Freudian slip? Because it's certainly not AI, I assure you. But in this clip, I hear it a little different. All right, and then we're going to get into, this is not even Deception Detective. It's a 2-minute clip of him not catching that he said that. And I didn't catch it either when I covered this.
Hi, folks. I think many of you may find this interesting, but I was watching a recent interview with the father of JonBenet, and I noticed a couple of, well, red flags, let's say, that the expert, this guy, might have missed. Let's take a look at these.
And we got you on here to say today, Deception Detective just came out with a new video that says, uh-oh, it's getting bad for John Ramsey. All right. I don't think you're the oldest, Mom. All right, let's keep going.
Let's see what you think. Here's the clip.
John, I'm not going to lie. I was so disheartened to see how many people out there still believe you had something to do with it, despite the fact, and let me repeat this loud and
all right,
clear.
now you see that smile he's got right there? Now, a lot of crime investigators might call that duper's delight.
I do.
That's when often when people lie, they might smile and give away the fact that they're taking joy in the.
And it is interesting how he's smiling and talking about his daughter. And yes, Carrie, I do have the autopsy photos on Ghost. All right. let's keep going. We haven't even got into half of anything today. What's up, Midnight Lace? Good to see you. All right, listen up. You guys decide for yourself what he said.
The fact that they're getting away with their lie. On its own, it means nothing. These things have to come in clusters. But in this next one, it's a doozy. So strap in, folks. This is going to blow your minds.
The main one being the groat that was used to strangle my daughter. So it's encouraging.
Now, I
And,
know you guys heard
you know,
that,
the
right?
key really,
But just in case, let's hear that again.
The main one being the groat that was used to strangle my daughter. The groat that was used to strangle my daughter. The groat that was used to strangle my daughter. The groat that was used to strangle my daughter. And
I'm just saying, I can't unhear it. And my girl Tiff, what's up? Glad you're here. Looks like Synth might be here. Foxy, I don't know. I can't see everybody. My chat is coming slow. So no offense to anybody if I don't see you. I don't see Holly either. I don't see everybody in chat right now. All right. Anyway, you guys can decide.
Strangle my daughter.
All right, that's on you guys to decide. We've got so much more to get into today that it's definitely not going to prosecute someone, but it's something to think about. All right. And your youngest was born today. Well, happy birthday to Janet Rawlings' youngest. All right. All right, let's keep going. I wish I could see chat better, but it's going slow. Thank you, Twin Mommy. I do love you. I appreciate you. In case I missed that. All right, look it. Is JonBenét Ramsey in the Epstein files, guys? Who has those files and what's up with that? Right now, today's the 28th, my friends, of 2026. This just came out January 28th, 2026 at 10:24 a.m. It's at 4:35 p.m. my time, Pacific, and 7:35 yours. Okay. So, and where is Holly? Is Holly in here too? Tiff, it's just us two. Tiff and Synth. No Holly, no Foxy. Okay. All right. Good to know. All right. So they asked the question. An internet rumor claimed JonBenét Ramsey is featured in the redacted photo from the Epstein files. The late child's father, John Ramsey, reacted to the rumors. We're going to get into that. After a viral video that claimed JonBenét Ramsey, who's been dead since 1996, was connected to Jeffrey Epstein. The late child's father, John Ramsey, is setting the record straight. Right? We're going to take a look at that too. Let me I'm trying to make sure I have that down. Okay, there we go. Okay, he sets things straight, but let's keep going. Sorry about that. All right, so he told TMZ absolutely no truth to it, setting the record straight. He says, and I don't know how he says that, but he says, I haven't seen this, but with AI or artificial intelligence, anything's possible. I figure one of these days I would be accused of being an Epstein pal. Hasn't happened yet. Internet people can be very cruel. His statement came after widespread internet rumors claimed a photo of JonBenét was featured on the Epstein files. That I'm going to show you that next. TikTok users have speculated that JonBenét, who was 6 years old when she died, is the little girl sitting on Epstein's shoulders in a framed picture that can be seen on the wall. Okay. And again, I'm going to show it to you. It's also been speculated, guys, that Ghislaine Maxwell, who's sentenced to 20 years in prison for the CSAM stuff, was in attendance at JonBenét's 6th birthday party just 3 months before JonBenét was found strangled in her home. Although it's been 30 years since the death, no official charges have been made. The case has been reopened. And in December 2025, they're still pursuing new leads. Techniques and technology constantly evolved. It's especially true with the technology related to the DNA testing, which is what we're going to get into today. All right, so let's take a look quickly at these things so you know what the heck I'm talking about. And yeah, it's crazy. It gets more and more wild. This is TMZ.
Suggests that Jeffrey Epstein had a twisted relationship with JonBenét Ramsey, but her father, John Ramsey, says it is all AI slop. TikTok is going nuts over this post that claims JonBenét Ramsey is the little girl sitting on Epstein's shoulders in this painting in his hallway that is hung in his New York townhouse. The photo in question is redacted from the Epstein files, but video appears to show a girl in a hallway who bears striking resemblance to JonBenét Ramsey. The clip also suggests that Ghislaine Maxwell was in attendance at JonBenét's 6th birthday party. JonBenét's father, John Ramsey, says that this is absolute and total conspiracy theory, bogus, and tells TMZ absolutely no truth to it. I haven't seen this, but with AI, anything is possible. I figured one of these days I would.
And again, guys, we just kind of heard the AI excuse about the garrote and we strangled. So, I mean, I guess now we're going to start going into, we're going to start doing trials, right? Where people are like, I didn't do that. That was AI. No, sir. I saw you on the camera with the knife throwing the stuff away. No, that wasn't me. That's AI. Expect that more and more. Okay. Because that's what's coming. That is what's coming with a lot of cases. They're going to use that as crutch.
Be accused of being an Epstein pal. Hasn't happened yet. Internet people can be very cruel. A viral video.
All right, and then I'm going to show you one more, and then I'm going to read the article and show you the pictures. That's unredacted. All right, it's an interesting unredaction, but it is also, the whole thing is just like, wait, what happened here? All right.
JonBenét on the Boulder Police Department website. See the jumper? This is a photo of Jeffrey in 1997, 1 year after JonBenét's body was found. See that he has gray hair? This is an actual Epstein file that you can find on the government website. The number's on the screen. See the jumper? You see the blonde hair on the little girl? Do you see that Jeffrey has gray hair?
Sorry about that.
This is a comment I got on Instagram on a post on the same topic. I'll give you a second to read it. This is the very next Epstein file after the Epstein file I just showed you. And the file number for this one is on the screen as well. Who is she? Who is that little girl? Release the damn files. This is a photo.
All right, so there's a bigger picture to this, and it has to do with JonBenét, but at the same time, they should release the files. Okay, now I'm gonna get into the actual files and the numbers that they're naming it as. Right, so can JonBenét Ramsey be seen on the shoulders of Jeffrey Epstein in these EFTAs 214 and 216? Now, again, I told you earlier, those are the numbers of the picture in the documents that are either have not been released or redacted. All right. Jeffrey Epstein looks like Herman Munster. That's fun. Now, listen, I mean, it's not the only one that's speculating this. One man trash. Good to see you. There's so many people that I can't see because, again, the way StreamYard is, but yeah, there's software that proves that something's AI generated or authentic. I'm sure there is, but people are still going to use that anyway. Listen, Harris, we also have DNA. People will lie through their teeth, even if they see the DNA, say they get a swab test, the DNA matches them, they still say they didn't do it. So we're going to be running into that same situation. All right. All right, let's keep going. Holly's here. Okay, what's up, Holly? There she is. There she is. We got Holly, Synth, my girl Tiff, and I think Foxy says she was okay. Foxy's driving. All right. All right. I gotta read a lot. That's why I'm trying to get my mods. But yes, you see what I'm saying, Harris? That's what I'm saying. People are gonna say that no matter what. What is up, Deb? Good to see you. Hit that like button. All right. All right. So there's the numbers on here, guys. A screenshot of 214 is below. It shows a minor female on the shoulders of Jeffrey Epstein. Face redacted. Again, I am not trying to say that this is I'm just simply reporting what that people are saying. So it's hard to even see the photo. It's interesting that they redacted it and they let it out and redacted it. But watch this. I don't know, let me do this. Hold on. Yeah, there's a better way. It's dark, but you can see a picture of, you can see Epstein right there. You can see the hands, but they took the face out. And then same right here. You can see him a little bit better. Dang it. Hold on. I'm sorry. This article does that. And then this one has no redaction. All right. So 2016 framed in the hallway. There's a better view of her face. Her face is redacted in this one. And then you got the 214 is unredacted in the Wayback Machine. The date of capture was December 19th, 2025. It was also captured on December 19th. It was redacted at the time. And then 214 is unredacted. And I wish you guys can see it better here, but there is no redaction on this. And I wish I can zoom in further. And I don't know why they're not releasing this so they can just at this point debunk it. Do you see what I'm saying right here? There's Epstein with a little girl, and he's got his hands around her feet, and she's holding on almost in an uncomfortable way, kind of in the way that we remember Maddie and Stefan. Boy, we're gonna have to drop this on Ghost. All right. Anyway, you're gonna have to just believe me on this. The image below is a crop version and unredacted. It's a little easier to see, but still not really. You guys get the idea, though, right? I'm definitely not trying to push this theory, but you guys are going to hear about it. Oh, there it is, too. There's a picture right there of the little girl that they say is JonBenét Ramsey. And they're saying that because they will not redact. They will not put out redacted photos. So speculation's running rampant, right? It looks a lot like JonBenét Ramsey, but I can't say that this is definitely her. I think it's interesting that the government redacted her shoes. Perhaps her shoes can be used to identify her. All right. That's crazy. I mean, what? All right. So anyway, December 12th, 2025, new evidence found nearly 30 years later. On Friday, Colorado police provided an annual update, which we just saw. And now we're going to continue. All right. But look at this too. They also have Ghislaine Maxwell that they say was at her birthday party. And this looks like her quite a bit. Can this newly discovered Epstein/Maxwell file shed light on the murder of JonBenét Ramsey? All right. They've got a picture in here, and it shows in April 2019, A&E made a documentary, Hunting JonBenét's Killer, The Untold Story. In the documentary, there's a glimpse of a woman that looks very much like Ghislaine Maxwell. I hope you guys are all on the same page that I am. So take a look at that. You've got this picture in there behind that. Is it AI? Is it photoshopped? Or what? Is that Ghislaine? Is that really her? Do you see her there? And then they show the different profiles and haircuts. And does that not look like her? Does that not look like Ghislaine at her party? Now, the picture of a woman in the A&E video clearly looks like Ghislaine. The nose is similar and the cheekbones match. Snopes did a fact check, which actually wasn't too bad. The video was initially on Hulu. So there it is again. All right. We reviewed the version of this video on Hulu and found this image at around the hour and 21-minute mark. The photograph is presented as new image that has never been seen by the public, but no information has been provided. Maxwell may bear a passing partial resemblance to the woman in the Ramsey photograph, but that's not proof that it is in fact the same person. Maxwell, of course, is far from the only woman to have short, dark hair and an angular nose, right? It looks like they privated this. The video is now available on YouTube, but not anymore. They privated it, right? So if Ghislaine Maxwell was intertwined in the JonBenét Ramsey case, then absolutely at some point JonBenét Ramsey collided with Epstein and the pedos, all right? So we're not going to go over Ghislaine stuff. I don't care about that. I'm here for JonBenét Ramsey and for John's response to it. All right, let's keep going. How's everybody doing? Hope your weather's not taking out your internet. I feel like mine is. Yeah, people are reaching, but listen, they're not just reaching because they want to reach and bring out a conspiracy. They're reaching because it's been almost 30 years and it's a possibility that they could have been intertwined in the Hollywood circle. All right, this is news to everybody, guys. I was researching this case today or the last couple of days, and I came across this. All right. Yeah, you never know that people attend their pageant could have seen pictures and selling them, right? Ghost is for Patreon. It's for a replacement of Patreon, right? If you guys want to drop the link for Ghost, please do so. It's free to sign up. All right, let's listen to what he says, and then we're going to get into all the new evidence in the case. And I'm going to try to be careful with the words. Hit that like button, guys. We have 184 people in here, and every JonBenét Ramsey, every time I've ever covered this case, it doesn't get monetized. So we've got actually 1, 2, 3. We've got 3 out of 10 for our goal. If you guys want to get a membership, gift a membership, super sticker, all that, that'd be great. If you can't, please do not apologize. Just don't. All right. JonBenét in the Epstein files. This just came out, and her dad is responding to it.
Record straight about a new rumor involving his daughter JonBenét Ramsey and Jeffrey Epstein. After a TikTok video recently circulated claiming the child beauty queen is in the Epstein files and that the millionaire convicted sex offender had a relationship with her, JonBenét's father is speaking out, telling TMZ January 27th, absolutely no truth to it. I haven't seen this, but with AI, anything is possible. I figured one of these days I would be accused of being an Epstein pal. Hasn't happened yet. Internet people can be very cruel. The viral video also alleges that Epstein's co-conspirator Ghislaine Maxwell, who was found guilty on several charges including sex trafficking of a minor, was at JonBenét's 6th birthday party. Another claim John denies. E! News has reached out to John for comment, but hasn't yet heard back. These conspiracy theories come 30 years after JonBenét was found.
And again, that's what happens when you don't have new and present information. It's not a far stretch that people of that ilk also were friends with the Epsteins. It doesn't mean it has anything to do with the case, but what if it does, right? What if it does? I mean, I'm not just here presenting stuff that I just made up. It's all out there for you to read and see. So where's this going and why? Why is it surfacing now, right?
Sexually assaulted, beaten, and strangled in the basement of her family's Boulder, Colorado home the day after Christmas. Following her death, authorities initially suspected parents John and Patsy Ramsey. However, they were never prosecuted. Patsy later died in 2006, and the case of JonBenét's mysterious murder remains unsolved.
All right. So again, I'm just reporting to you rumors and connections that they think are plausible. And when I say there's also private investigators that are working on this behind the scenes as well. And that's what we're getting into next. Let me make sure I did not botch something with what I'm doing here, and then we'll continue. Thank you guys for being here. I appreciate you. You could be anywhere else. And I know where there's a lot of other people right now. There's a lot of crime channels that are streaming right now. And of course, people want to be on there. I don't know why. I don't know if it's because it's easier, lighter, whatever. But I mean, these cases are very important, especially the fact that we have new DNA that can find the person or people that are involved in this. All right, now we get to the new evidence. And thank you guys again for supporting the channel. All right, new rulings, JonBenét Ramsey investigation, DNA rulings, and fresh leads explained. This came out last night on the 27th. All right, let's get into it.
That means nearly 3 decades of questions and investigative missteps, and one of the most haunting unsolved cases in American history. JonBenét was killed the day after Christmas, 1996, strangled, her skull fractured, her body left in the basement. And despite some brief moments of hope over the years, no one has ever been charged in this crime. But there may be a new development. Boulder police have just said that they have new evidence in the case. In their annual update, Police Chief Stephen Redfern said that JonBenét's murder remains a top priority, and he outlined new steps being taken to move the.
And guys, right after this, I was going to put it on first, but I also have a theory. My theory has always been that it was an inside job. Something happened with Burke, and the parents covered it up because they didn't want to lose two children. So after this, I'm going to play I'm not going to play what we saw earlier, but we're going to see John Ramsey slipping up again in one of his latest interviews from just days ago. All right. So right now we're talking about the new DNA evidence that they have and the leads and the witnesses and the people that are involved. But then we're going to go back and say, what in the heck? How did he slip up that bad? Again, that's twice now. This will be the second one in today's episode. If he actually did say that about the garrote, Freudian slip, duper's delight, or just an accident, just didn't, or maybe he didn't say it at all.
Case forward. Take a look.
This past year, our detectives have conducted several new interviews, as well as re-interviewed individuals.
We already saw this one. So.
John, I can't even count how many times you and I meet at this time of year to discuss what's new, what's happening, what's different, what's changed. But something does feel different this year. To hear Chief Redfern say that they've got new evidence, that they've retested old evidence, and that they're using outside experts. Let's start with the new evidence and the retesting of old evidence. Have they told you anything about that?
And guys, I can't imagine that they're going to tell him details about the case. Nope, they haven't technically been ruled out of anything. So even if they are giving him information, I bet it's just slight little tidbits. There's no way they would be giving him all the details.
Well, Chief Redfern told us, I don't know, September, we had a meeting with him, and that he had submitted evidence for additional DNA testing. He didn't say what evidence it was, but that it was submitted again, or perhaps new. We don't know if it was new or stuff that had been tested before. We, of course, have advocated that if certain evidence that was taken from the crime scene has never been sampled, that it ought to be. The main one being the garrote that was used to strangle my daughter. So it's encouraging.
And then he says that again. Let's go back for a second. Wait, what? Say that again. New stuff that has been tested. We, of course,
advocated that if certain evidence that was taken from the crime scene has never been sampled, that it ought to be. The main one being the garrote that was used to strangle my daughter.
And there was that part, the garrote, that now I can't unhear saying that we used to strangle our daughter. My goodness. And guys, I don't condone any of I'm just not into it. I don't like the beauty pageants. I think it's exploitation. I think they're way too young to be dressing and acting like that. And nowadays, with everything in the pedos, not okay. Trishy, welcome to the crime crew. Just became a member. You're awesome. And then Dolores, thank you so much for gifting a membership. If you receive the membership, please thank her. Thanks, Trishy. Welcome. Sounds like he says, me too. I've played it so many times, and I just cannot unhear it.
So it's encouraging. And, the key really in progress has been the addition of new leadership there. It was
almost like he doesn't even know what he's saying anymore. I wonder if he's going to get dementia at some point and just tell everything he knows, man. Anyway, after this, we're going to see how he slipped up even further.
Not very good for 25, 26 years. And brought in Chief Rep from the outside. I've met with him 3 or 4 times. I'm impressed with him. I think he's sincere and honest, and
oh yeah,
So I'm encouraged. And, we've advocated.
I can't believe, John, I can't believe that the chiefs in the past haven't seen it as a priority, if only to become, famous in name as the chief that solved this case. It just defies logic that it's taken 3 decades for someone to come along who maybe does make this a priority and who has the chops. Do you know if they have enlisted labs like Othram?
And guys, you got to remember how people interject themselves to find out what's happening. What's up, Dale? Telling your girls that it's important to be beautiful. Exactly. And that's fine. Girls do want to play like that. They see the dolls and the makeup, but the way that these pageants are done, and especially back then, guys, there was no safety measures. They thought it was just cute and whatever. Boy, do I have some pictures of JonBenét Ramsey that are disturbing. Garden Ivy says John and Ghislaine, however you say her name, has the same lawyer in Denver. That's not hearsay, it's a fact. See? Very interesting facts. Thank you for saying that. Are you saying John Ramsey and Ghislaine Maxwell have the same lawyer? What? Okay. All right. I hear you. Yes, back then it was a pedo magnet central, and they would even make books, like whole books. Now, this is just a piece of my paper, but they had pamphlets with these pedo islands, guys. It was bad. All right, let's keep going. I can't unhear this.
Bring up Othram because it's famous for having solved the Idaho murders.
Yeah, no, Othram is one of the few cutting-edge labs that can do investigative genetic genealogy. IgG is the term for it. And we've been advocating that the Boulder Police do that, use that technology.
Yeah, that's disturbing AF to me. I did not even know that, and I should have looked up what the connections are between the Ramseys and Epstein/Maxwell. And yikes is right. And Chumba, absolutely, it's a big club. Right? I mean, look at what just happened with that 15-year-old boy that got lured out on Roblox. I think he's still missing. I hope they haven't found his body yet, and I hope he's safe. Sarah says JonBenét's grandfather was the head of the department that allowed for airstrips and airports in Michigan. He made the cease. Oh my good. And I believe every word of that. Thank you, Holly, my girl, for the $1.99 super sticker. She's saying, match me. Choo choo. Thank you. All right, let's keep going.
In our case, I think if they do, we've got probably a 70-80% chance of getting an answer. It's been very successful in solving old cold cases. It's kind of the latest and greatest use of technology and DNA to solve crimes. And
I'm going to tell you something. When I saw the posting of Chief Redfern, I went deep down in the comments and I was reading the comments. And John, I'm not going to lie, I was so disheartened to see how many people out there still believe you had something to do with it.
Well, you just said 2 seconds ago the growth that we used. I can't imagine why. And Zena, welcome to the Crime Crew family. She says, so glad to have caught this live with you, Jay. I've come across from Deception Detective channel. We'll stay here because right after this, we're going to have Deception Detective trash this guy that he's always believed knows a lot more. Thank you so much, Dale. I can't wait to meet you guys. I can't wait to meet everybody at CrimeCon. Y'all better come. Everybody better come. All right. It's only partial DNA, but they've got more than partial DNA. They've got partial DNA under the finger. But listen, Thought Criminal, this is a brand new episode and we're discussing it right now. So perfect timing that you're here. Krista says, hello, beautiful people. And hello, beautiful Krista. Thank you for joining us.
Despite the fact, and let me repeat this loud and clear, that the Boulder Police and everybody else involved in investigating the murder of your daughter, they have cleared you over and over and over again. And they've gone so far as to apologize for having left you under that umbrella of suspicion for so long. To the point where Patsy died before she was cleared from that umbrella of suspicion. So for anybody watching, if you're one of the commenters, do your research before you make such painful comments about John and his family. Okay, that aside, I will say this because you brought it up when we, I think, spoke at CrimeCon, that you wish that they would ask you to re-interview. You wish that they would bring you in so that you could, once again, tell them everything that they might want to know. Is that, I know you got the meeting in January.
That's interesting because I wonder if he wants to find out what he wants. No, they haven't what? There's a link between North Fox Island CSAM and the unsolved OCC or OC case, all similarities between the crime scene, cause of death. Yes. Thank you, Sarah. I'm telling you, sometimes people think these are conspiracy theories and people are just nuts. But when you see connections like that, and I'm telling you guys, I have been into and studying true crime since forever. I'm 46 years old, and those islands, those CSAM islands, they exist. They've existed for many years, and now they're just under the radar a little more. All right. What I said, they were cleared before Patsy dies. They were cleared several times, but let's keep going.
Is that on the agenda?
Well, we haven't put it on the agenda yet, but we're going to ask for a meeting again in January for an update. And they've always been, at least with Chief Redfern, very cordial in honoring that request. So, they've been fairly quiet about what they're doing. I think if I read between the lines of his latest report that he issued, there's some encouraging words there. And so I'm more optimistic than I've been in a long time, certainly with new leadership. The problem with the old leadership, it was the old guard. These people that were in that police department had never investigated a murder.
So, guys, the OCC case, I believe that they're referring to is the Oakland County child killer investigation. It's still unsolved, and it's a series of child abductions. I don't know how it's that. Maybe that's not it, because how do we have 4 children were taken and held for days and then found murdered? But how do they have the same? We've got 4 victims, 4 children. So I'm not sure what that is. Sometimes they call it the babysitter killer. Let me know if anyone knows what that OCC that they're referring to. I just didn't look. Here now, he's in the 80s. All right, let's keep going. I'm not sure if that's what they're referring to.
Murder. They decided on day one that we were guilty, literally day one. And that became the conclusion that they tried to fit the evidence to. And of course, they ran into problems because they couldn't fit the evidence.
Right. I should mention as well, just for those who might be dabbling in the case and thinking that they know more than the average Joe, there is unknown male DNA on JonBenét's clothing, multiple different parts of her clothing, not just one piece, multiple different pieces of her clothing have the same unknown male DNA, meaning it's the same DNA from the same person. So that's a critical piece of this, of this mystery. John, have they said to you anything about?
Yeah, again, this is just this at this time, there was no measures put into place. It was just like, hey, your kid's cute, put them in a pageant, make them work their asses off and win. And it's for the parents, really. Nowadays, there are measures in place, but it's just weird. And we know how many pedos exist. And now we have a huge platform of television and internet and social media that are seeing these children and fixating on them, right? All right, let's keep going.
About what new evidence they're referring to and what new interviews they've conducted?
No, they haven't. And of course, that's one of the questions we'll ask is, okay, what new evidence do you have? Did you test the DNA in the latest format that's necessary to do IgG, investigative genetic genealogy? And that would be very encouraging to us if they've done that.
Yes.
This new technology, it's been around for 3 or 4 years.
I just, those pictures rub me wrong. I have a folder of pictures of JonBenét Ramsey in different positions, different shots, different headshots. And you're right, Joseph, it's exploitation, and I would have none of it. Like I said, I don't think Mrs. Guilty understood how I felt about it originally and was like, oh, baby Guilty's beautiful. We should get her into, and I said, hell no. No amount of money is going to do that. Nope. No way, no how. And it's still happening. So these people, the Ramseys, knew a lot of people. They were privileged, and I don't doubt that they weren't connected with pedos.
Is really truly an investigative tool that allows police to investigate and look for the killer. The CODIS federal database of DNA it's been around for 30 years. It's frankly a little obsolete, in my opinion.
Well,
So
you know why? You got to have a
Yeah.
criminal. And as we know from the Golden State Killer, that guy wasn't a criminal. He was a cop. And so he was
Oh, well,
caught
that's been-
genetic genealogy because he wasn't in CODIS, but he was in the family tree of all those folks who've tested their DNA. John, I
Yep.
say it every year. I'm going to say it again. I pray for you. I pray for you and Jan that you will get resolution. You will.
Oh, we want to get resolution as well. However, they do this they do it every year when it comes up, but we're coming up on 30 years, and this is the first time in a long time where they're saying they have new evidence connected to it that they're testing for DNA. So it's hopeful that they're going to find something. I just understand and realize, and I hope you guys realize, when we talk about a victim, the rate, or we should say the statistically 75% and above, that it's somebody close to your family, inside your family, or somebody that you know that covets you. All right. How else would they have known where to go, where to get the Christmas present that was one of the Christmas presents, to dress her, then put her somewhere where they didn't even find her allegedly the first time around? How could and again, the ransom note plays a huge key piece of evidence in the exact number of that he was going to get a bonus. John, the paper inside the pad, the writing. How is that possible?
Get justice, and I'm feeling that it's getting closer, especially with the positive vibes you're getting from the Boulder police. Let's just put our hands together and pray together that you finally get this answer in 2026.
Yep.
Well, thank you, Ashley. I'm very optimistic at this point. I really am.
I'm glad to hear that in your voice, because it's been a long 29 years.
Absolutely a false confession. Thank you for asking, Trishy. At the beginning of this, I was telling you guys about the people of interest over the last 29 years. And John Ramsey and Patsy Ramsey were the number one focus for the longest time. All right. They were cleared eventually and ultimately before Patsy was deceased. But they also have suspected Burke Ramsey, the brother. We still scrutinize that. But the person that confessed was John Mark Carr. And guys, he confessed in 2006, but he was cleared by DNA. False confession, and his DNA didn't match a thing. All right. So, yes.
John, thank you for this, and Merry Christmas to you and your family.
Well, thank you. Merry Christmas to you, Ashley. Thank you.
You are so familiar with this case, so it's great to have you on to help us understand where we are today, because we're going to be approaching the 30-year mark this coming Christmas. But police are not saying what this new evidence is or who has been interviewed, but they are confirming that new and follow-up interviews have been conducted. So I know that you're close to the case, so can you shed any light on what this new evidence might be, or any new or old suspects that might be emerging in the case? Let's start there.
I love it. I'm so glad you guys are here with me to see this and hear this today, because it's something that is not just like, oh, breaking news or clickbait. This is what's happening right now. And Sarah, thank you for another fun fact. John Ramsey's father married his wife's mother, his first wife, making her his mother-in-law and stepmom. And when he divorced his wife, they were still step siblings. That is a fun fact, a crazy fact. All right. Someone else was in the house after they got home from the Christmas party. Someone laid in wait for the best time, in my opinion. And that person that did that was somebody that probably coveted them if it was not an inside job. All right. Many people think Burke did it, and they think Burke did it, and the parents didn't want to lose 2 children, so they covered it up. I can go over a million scenarios. I don't have a million. I'm being exaggerating, but I can give you at least 5 different theories over the years.
I think the most encouraging thing, Laura, is the commitment from the police chief in Boulder to have the original DNA retested using more modern technology. The big breakthrough on many cold cases across the country has been IgG, investigative genetic genealogy. And that's how the Golden State case was solved, and other major cases where you don't have to necessarily have the suspect and his DNA, but if you can get into their family tree, then you can trace them back from a second or a third cousin to identify the.
Right, and we know BK was caught like that, right? What's up, Teresa? Good to see you, my friend. Yeah, a million reasons, right? So I got distracted by you guys rolling in. Thought Criminal, Teresa, Pink Stars. Yeah, the ransom note was 3 pages. That's what I was showing earlier, except they put all 3 pages on one. All right. All right, let's keep going. I totally got distracted by the people coming in. I'll remember in a second what I was going to say.
Killer. The other important thing that's happening with the retesting is the DNA sample sizes are so much smaller now because the technology is so much better. So where there was a concern in years past that testing the DNA, the whole sample, might be consumptive. It might use the entire sample. And today, because such smaller sampling sizes are required, that concern is no longer as valid.
And also, because this is Investigation Nation, I wanted to share with our audience, John, that I went to the former Ramsey home in Boulder, Colorado earlier this year to look at the intruder theory, because again, for so long, people said somebody in the family did it. And then there's a lot of people who still believe to this day, yourself included, about the intruder theory. So I wanted to see how easily the back of the home can be accessed, because, and it
yeah, let's look at that. This is what we're talking about right now is theories. I love the crime crew. You guys come in and you ask just the right questions. Under the Scar says, I'm not in agreement the family had anything to do with it. The note is the only oddity. John wouldn't push this much time if the family knew. In your opinion, rightfully so. But they just talked about the theory. One of the first theories was the intruder theory. All right. So the major theories in this case are the intruder theory, which they need to, hopefully they're looking into. All right. But no sign of forced entry. The note was it was 3 pages long for it to be an intruder. And the house was large and quiet, difficult for an intruder to navigate. Second big theory was the family involvement, that a family member accidentally or intentionally harmed JonBenét, and then they staged it as a kidnapping to cover it up. Remember, they didn't initially find her. All right. The ransom note was written on Patsy Ramsey's notepad with a pen from the home. And again, it was long, as well as the $118,000 ransom demand. That was exactly what John's bonus was going to be. They never found footprints in the snow on the outside. So the variations of the family theory are that Patsy accidentally killed her during a discipline or rage incident. Secondly, John, less commonly proposed, used and tied to staging, usually tied to staging arguments. And Burke accidentally blow by her brother with parents covering it up because they didn't want to lose their child. Third major one is the hybrid third party connection, where it was somebody that knows, it was an intruder, but they also knew the family and they knew how to get into the home. They were in the social circle of his business life. And the reason they say that is because of the unusual staging of the crime scene, the mix of the forensic indicators, DNA versus the handwriting versus the household materials that were used. All right. And then the other theory was that somebody on the outside that was close saw her, and it was some type of sexual predator in the neighborhood, maybe a former housekeeper or contractor, a drifter or transient. And then we've got a false confession by John Mark Carr. All right. So those are the major points and theories that have been out there.
It does look a little bit different today than it did in 1996. So I drove around the front, I went around the alley in the back, and I wanted to watch this together with you. Let's watch.
This is the alleyway right off of 15th. We're on the back side of the former home of the Ramseys. And as we take a look here at the back of the house, you can see the complexities of all the different levels and all of the different entryways that are on this house. And investigators have long...
You guys know how visual we are over here, so it's great to see what, when, where, kind of how, right? It's been a long time.
Believed that this is a very key point in this case. We've got the back fence over there. We've got the garage here. We've got this side entrance here with the wrought iron. And we know that this is an area that has been very closely looked at through the years.
Okay, so what can you tell us about the alley? The way it looked in 1996 and still today, I mean, it's pretty big access back there.
Yes, and in 96, it was even more so accessible. After the murder, the Ramsey family never, ever stepped foot back inside that home. And the home was later sold. And then owners who came along later added the privacy fence, which runs off the alley in the back along the sides. And then in front, they put up a privacy fence that is a tall wrought iron railing. And so security was not as big of an issue in 96 with the Ramsey family as it is shortly after the murder and as it appears today. But even today, Laura, you saw yourself that off of that back alley behind the home, which is where the residents would drive into the garage and access the home. And that was the garage that was used by the Ramsey family on the night of Christmas 1996. Shortly before the murder. So that area was very accessible in the back. I think we're closer now.
Yeah, there's a lot. And he's saying he thinks they're closer now. Remember, he knows what's been tested. He knows the people that have been cleared. There's a big spreadsheet right now with the names being crossed off and the DNA being tested so that they can get rid of the people that are not involved. Sadie's mama says, I agree here. Sadie's mama says they went straight to the police, even after note said if they do, they would unalive their daughter. They knew she was already unalive, so no threat. Interesting. I mean, yeah, that's part of it. And I pray that we get answers too. Otherwise, I wouldn't even be covering this case. If I thought, this is just nonsense. It's not, guys. You just heard him. We're getting closer than ever before. You think the brother wrote the letter? No. I don't think the brother wrote the letter. No way, no how. I think the mom wrote the letter. All right, Wild Wanderer says never thought Burke did anything. And it could have absolutely not been Burke. But somebody knew how to get in here, knew where to go, knew about a present, knew where the ransom or knew where the paper, knew where the pen was. How? How'd they know that? Had to have been someone close
To having this case solved than we ever have been in the past. And I know this testing with Othram and other labs is not inexpensive, but what the Smith family team has done is we've started a GoFundMe account. Our target was $100,000. We're over $95,000 that we've raised. Now we spent about $75,000, but we have offered to use our GoFundMe account to pay for this genetic testing. So
that's crazy. They better start getting some results because that's a lot. Patsy dictated the letter and Burke wrote it, in my opinion. Deb says, Deborah. Yeah, I don't think that I'm going to try to find that letter if I can. I have it somewhere, but I don't want to play this too long and not interject, right? Fair use.
If the police department's a smaller department, if they don't have the budget to support that, we'd use our entire GoFundMe account just to identify this killer. If we have to raise more money, we'll go do that. And I know the Ramsey family is very committed to raising funding if that's what's required to get this case solved.
Hold on, I don't know what happened. What happened? The volume stopped. Hold on, guys. These people have plenty of money. Like, what? Well, there's not even those people anymore. Hold on. I don't know what happened. It just stopped playing. What happened here? Did I mute it? Sorry, guys. Can you guys hear me? Hold on. Let me go back.
Because the technology is so...
They must have...
shortly before.
Waiting for answers and still believing a breakthrough will...
I wonder
if we have to...
Hold on. Okay, there it is.
And we spent about $75,000, but we have offered to use our GoFundMe account to pay for this genetic testing. So if the police department's a smaller department, if they don't have the budget to support that, we'd use our entire GoFundMe account just to identify this killer. If we have to raise more money, we'll go do that. And I know the Ramsey family is very committed to raising funding if that's what's required to get this case solved.
Appreciate you. All right, it's their video that went out for a minute. I don't know what happened. They messed it
waiting
up.
for answers and still believing a breakthrough will come. And John joins me now live. John, I can't even count how many times you and I meet at this time of year to discuss what's new.
Hey, he might be at CrimeCon next year too, everybody. All right. And yeah, they have plenty of money to pay for it. Well, we don't know what their situation is at this point, right? But yeah, I mean, the thought is they had plenty of money.
What's happening, what's different, what's changed, but something does feel different this year. To hear Chief Redfern say that they've got new evidence, that they've retested old evidence, and that they're using outside experts. Let's start with the new evidence and the retesting of old evidence. Have they told you anything about that?
Well, Chief Redfern told us, gosh, I don't know, September, we had a meeting with him, and that he had submitted evidence for additional DNA testing. He didn't say what evidence it was, but that it was submitted again, or perhaps new. We don't know if it was new or stuff that had been.
Now, remember, there's a lot of evidence that has, at this point, it's been almost 30 years, and there wasn't a lot of DNA evidence to begin with. So they have to be really careful in testing this evidence, because that might be it. That might be the last time they're going to be able to use this small piece of evidence and get actual results, because it's been so long. Again, they didn't use that back then, and they didn't think to collect that. And I saw somebody in chat earlier saying, if this crime occurred now in 2025, 2026, we would probably know what happened, because we'd have Ring doorbells and cameras, right? Not in this case, we don't, but we have DNA.
Tested before. We, of course, have advocated that if certain evidence that was taken from the crime scene has never been sampled, that it ought to be. The main one being the garrote that was used to strangle my daughter. So it's encouraging. And, the key really in progress has been the addition of new leadership there. It was not very good for 25, 26 years. And brought in Chief Redfern from the outside. I've met with him 3 or 4 times. I'm impressed with him. I think
I really do hope that we get so much closer in the next month to finding out what that DNA evidence is, who's involved, or who they think is, because it's been a really long time, right? But we're still talking about the DNA evidence. This is just him not exactly knowing what they've been looking at and testing. I don't think they're going to tell him, oh, dude, hey, we're doing some DNA testing and we found some of your DNA in a weird spot that it shouldn't have been. They're not going to tell him that. And they don't want to mess up the investigation and for him to run or take his life, right? If that's the case.
he's sincere and honest. And so I'm encouraged. And, we've advocated.
I can't believe, John, I can't believe that the chiefs in the past haven't seen it as a priority, if only to become, famous in name as the chief that solved this case. It just defies logic that it's taken 3 decades for someone to come along who.
Well, as far as I'm concerned, the DNA testing that they're doing now has not been tested before. There is DNA that has been tested before that they're retesting, but there's also things that they could never test at the time. So that's cool. If they use that DNA to rule him out and to rule Patsy out, fine. But what do they have now? What difference do they have? They certainly haven't said that recently.
Maybe does make this a priority and who has the chops. Do you know if they have enlisted labs like Othram? And I bring up Othram because it's famous for having solved the Idaho murders.
Yeah, no, Othram is one of the few cutting edge labs that can do investigative genetic genealogy. IgG is the term for it. And we've been advocating that the Boulder police do that. use that technology in our case. I think if they do, we've got a probably have 70-80% chance of getting an answer.
Wow.
It's been very successful in solving.
And guys, they can find out that there was somebody that maybe was a partner in his business that knew exactly, but I still can't fathom why I can't fathom why that damn letter would come from inside of the house. It's not, that doesn't make sense. And the fact that they knew the exact ransom amount, which there was no ransom really, right? That was just to throw the law enforcement off, because she was already gone.
Old cold cases. It's kind of the latest and greatest use of technology and DNA to solve crimes. And
you know, I'm going to tell you something. When I saw the posting of Chief Redfern, I went deep down in the comments and I was reading the comments. And John, I'm not going to lie, I was so disheartened to see how many people out there still believe you had something to do with it, despite the fact, and let me repeat this loud and clear.
And he does laugh and chuckle a lot. Doesn't mean anything. But right after we're done talking about the DNA evidence, we're going to see how he slipped up again. And I'll tell you what my theory is, regardless of what you think or whoever, we can agree to disagree until the evidence comes out and it's documented.
That the Boulder police and everybody else involved in investigating the murder of your daughter, they have cleared you over and over and over again. And they've gone so far as to apologize for having left you under that umbrella of suspicion for so long, to the point where Patsy died before she was cleared from that umbrella of suspicion. So for anybody watching, if you're one of the commenters, do your research before you make such painful comments about John and his family. Okay, that aside, I will say this because you brought it up when we, I think, spoke at CrimeCon, that you wish that they would ask you to re-interview. You wish that they would bring you in so that you could, once again, tell them everything that they might want to know. Is that, I know you got a meeting in January. Is that on the agenda?
Well, we haven't put it on the agenda yet, but we're going to ask for a meeting again in January for an update. And they've always been, at least with Chief Redfern, very cordial in honoring that request. So, you know, they've been fairly quiet about what they're doing. I think if I read between the lines of his latest report that he issued, there's some encouraging words there. And so I'm more optimistic than I've been in a long time, certainly with new leadership. You know, the problem with the old leadership, it was the old guard. These people that were in that police department had never invested.
And, you know, I'm reading some of the comments here, and I don't want to put misinformation out, but when I see that there was evidence of a practice note, where'd that come from? I did see underneath, I remember seeing the ransom letter, and they showed the pressure that was used. I mean, they looked at everything, the pressure, the consistency. Are capitals oversized? Are the strokes darker? Are they lighter? Are the words spread out, compact? Are they stylized in the same way? And a lot of them are saying yes, but a little bit heavier. Some are completely consistent when they start breaking that down, but it all looks like it came from Patsy Ramsey inside of the house. Now, if the family had nothing to do with that, what's the deal with that? Is it a coincidence? Did we get it wrong? All right. That's a rhetorical question because I don't know.
Investigated a murder. They decided on day one that we were guilty, literally day one. And that became the conclusion that they tried to fit the evidence to. And of course, they ran into problems because they couldn't fit the evidence.
Right. I should mention as well, what does the murder of JonBenét Ramsey in 1996 have in common with the Long Island serial killings spanning decades?
And see, this is, we're not only talking about the Long Island, but we're talking about the Golden State and BK. They're all using that technology. Yes, I thought criminal at the very beginning of this. They were, I told you guys the first 5 minutes, the Ramseys were indicted by a grand jury, but they weren't able to get that through. The judge, it just didn't get signed off on, and it got dropped. I know, that's what I don't understand. That's a big deal. That's a big deal. A lot of people do forget that. I don't, because at the very beginning, that's what I said. They were absolutely indicted. They went straight for them, but nothing ever happened. All right. The case drew national attention. Over decades, the cases produced multiple theories. media investigations. Yeah, I read that at the beginning, though. They were indicted and then they got dropped. So that's wild about, I mean, what?
3 letters, DNA. Nowadays, we almost assume that DNA at crime scenes means slam dunk convictions, but old and degraded bones and hairs have old and degraded DNA that most crime labs at police departments can't seem to wrestle with. Enter Astrea and several other private labs with cutting-edge ways to reconstruct a person's entire genetic makeup from the slightest little.
They sound really confident. I'm glad they're explaining this because it gives you an idea that this case may be solved. Who would have thought in a million years that we can get the Gilgo Beach murder solved in the way that we have, or Golden State that have been doing it for 30 years. BK, oh, lovely. People still think that it's not him, by the way. I want to cover that case so bad, so bad.
Fragment of DNA. It's called whole genome sequencing. And while it's widely accepted by scholars and academics and, well, you and me, judges, that's different. They've been a tougher sell. The science has only been allowed in just a couple of criminal trials around the country, but soon, it's about to take center stage in a big one.
It certainly is, the whole genome sequencing. Now, listen, I don't want anybody to forget about the indictment, but there was an original indictment in the JonBenét Ramsey case, and they were indicted by a grand jury. However, well, first of all, let me tell you, they were indicted for child abuse resulting in JonBenét's death. The district attorney refused to sign it, and the Ramseys were never prosecuted. The documents stayed sealed for 14 years and were finally released in 2013 after a media lawsuit. So they absolutely wanted to indict him on child abuse resulting in death. They're saying that John and Patsy Ramsey unlawfully, knowingly, recklessly, and feloniously permitted a child to be placed in a situation that posed a threat of injury resulting in death. All right. The grand jury also alleged that the Ramseys helped render assistance to a person who committed the crime, implying that they've hindered the investigation. Now, the indictment did not accuse them of the actual murder. It accused them of failing to protect JonBenét Ramsey and helping covering up the circumstances of the death. Maybe they knew the district attorney, or maybe that it just wasn't enough info, but a grand jury thought so.
Like one of the biggest. New York versus Rex Heuermann, the Long Island serial killer, alleged killer. Okay? He's AKA the Gilgo Beach killer, all alleged. In a landmark ruling today, a judge said prosecutors will be allowed to introduce evidence that was gleaned from hairs that were found on the Gilgo victims' remains. That evidence was obtained through whole genome sequencing.
Thank you.
And that's the first for New York. And it brings me back to the murder of little JonBenét Ramsey in Boulder, Colorado.
And again, they're going to say AI. They're going to blame it on anything. Whoever gets caught or whatever DNA comes, nobody's going to just say, more than likely, in my opinion, oh, yeah, that was my DNA, but whatever, right? They're not going to say that. They're going to blame it on something else. And you're right, Missy. JonBenét was a cash cow. And I heard him say the girl wrote that we strangled our daughter with. Guilty. How could he not have heard himself say it with so many suspecting? No one else had access. And again, I'm just reading your comment. It's not a fact. It's in your opinion, in my opinion. And thank you, Indy Isham. Again, surely I said AI. All right. Right after this, guys, we're gonna look at John slipping up again.
John Ramsey, JonBenét's dad, has been relentless in his belief that advances in DNA technology will ultimately find his daughter's killer. And John Ramsey joins me now live. John, it's good to have you on the show again. Thanks for being here. I thought of you.
Over and over, he keeps going on these, and he's always, everyone, he looks more and more beat down, but he does smile a lot and giggles.
Listen, today, immediately, I thought about you when the judge in the Long Island serial killing case said, okay, whole genome sequencing,
DNA.
it's in. So what was your reaction to that?
Well,
By the way, anybody, we're listening to this, but I also want to know in chat, has anybody in chat been following the Brian Koberger case and the photos? And now we know about the autopsies, what happened. Let me know in chat if you guys are following that. And well, basically, if you're following it, you would say hit 1 if you think they've got the right man, that Koberger's the guy. It's done. We're good. Hit 2 if you think that, nah, no way he did this. It had to be somebody else or multiple people. 1 if you think BK is the right guy. 2 if you say no way. All right, let's keep going.
I studied a little bit to understand. I've been pushing forensic genetic genealogy research in our case for a while. And basically, it requires a different set of data than has been put into CODIS, which is a federal database. CODIS has 15 or 20 markers. If you match the markers, you're the bad guy. If you don't, you're out. There's no way to research genealogy and track this genealogy research program with that data. You've got to have this new data taken, new samples taken. And the way.
And again, guy, and I'm glad that he's understanding and explaining to us, because he sure is, he sure does meet with them often. It seems like they're telling him a lot of things that he can't talk about. But what is he actually saying? Teresa said, Synth, I tried to buy a cup for Jay and the payment didn't go through. Say what? Thank you, Teresa. I don't know why that happened, but boo. All right, let's keep going. We're about to see him slip up. I've seen him slip up a few times, but
what has happened so far with these cases where old cases have been solved is they've used this technique of genome sampling and then built a family tree using the mother side of the family, and they go back and create a family.
She's sitting there like, we already know this. I've been covering the cases where it does that. Basically, when they do that on this case, they're doing that because it could be, and they think, I believe with the indictment that they did, they believe it was somebody either in the house as a family member or someone that is related to them and that coveted them.
Family tree going back X number of years, depending on how old the case is, and then they look who the relatives were. And there's in the first case that this was solved was a Golden State Killer case in California, and it was a 40-year-old case, cold case. Well, they found this guy that was a relative in the town where this crime was committed 4 years ago. Then they went and got his DNA, and the DNA matched the sample they have. And so, bingo, they found the killer. So it's a huge advance, and I believe it's the way our case will be solved. I think it's a really good chance it could be solved if it's implemented. And I learned recently that yes, you can get this data from a hair sample. We have several hair samples from JonBenet's crime scene that weren't identified. We donated hair and pubic hair.
Well, again, guys, the number one, they had that house was large. They had a lot of people. There's different parties and things going on. So that can just mean that maybe someone was staying down. Remember where they found her, they didn't originally know that she was there. Okay, so was that down in like the basement area? Was that a room where people stayed the night when they drank too much, or just guess? That doesn't mean anything, and then it depends where they found the hair, and what they're testing, right? So
there's a pubic hair sample in JonBenet's blanket.
I know,
not linked to anybody at this point. We know you can get a sample from that now. I've heard that before, and of course heard it in your program. So it's a huge tool to identify killers.
Let me ask you this. Given the fact that
I believe
this
it,
whole genome sequencing is good enough to identify a 9/11 victim, right, from 24 years ago, and now the standard is being accepted in this massive case, the serial killer case in New York. I know that you've been meeting with the Boulder police about genetic genealogy, but do you think it might be worth going back and knocking on the door and saying, hey, look what they're doing in New York. What about this whole genome sequencing? Why don't we go this route as well?
Yeah, and we should. And I have another meeting set up with the chief of police. I've met with him in January. I've got another meeting in a week.
and he's very close in this case. I wonder if they're using him to get more information, because they're certainly not going to do that with somebody that at one time was a suspect. They ruled them out, but I can't imagine them giving him too much info. It's like he's explaining to us, he's giving us the dictionary or Wikipedia version of what the DNA means and how they do it. We already know this. That's not new.
Or so. And that's my message. We've got to use this technique. I firmly believe that it'll solve the case. If we do it and we don't get a solution, then by gosh, I'll give you guys credit. You did everything that technically can be done today.
Yep.
But it's a huge advance in the use of DNA technology. You know, the last DNA testing in our case was done about 8 or 9 years ago. Technology has advanced dramatically. This is a great example of that.
Well, thanks for telling us that, John. Good to know.
And
Is it ever?
it's an amazing tool. And
So
the difference that this tool provides is the ability to use DNA information.
Well, thank you for telling us, sir. We all know that, and we hope that leads back to someone. But I love that you said that, Mama Sage, because a lot of people do that, particularly ones with connections that I believe he had. Murdaugh, right? Alex Murdaugh did that. They invited people over and it messed up the crime scene. You're right. John called his friends over and took them where she was before the police arrived, which compromises the integrity of an investigation. All right. So, I mean, what is he saying here? What's up, Emily Jane? Good to see you. Appreciate you. John is stuck on himself, right? I want to believe there's a mix between RDI and IDI. I think it's going to end up being peripheral. Figured that was around the house regularly, but that flew under the radar for 30 years. Well, put your guesses in, because we're going to hopefully find something out soon. Good. You think they got the right guy? Me too. I am not a conspiracy theorist at all about that Koberger case.
To investigate a case, we've used DNA as a country evidence to convict. DNA matches, boom, we got you. Doesn't match, you're out. That's a pretty primitive use of DNA in today's world.
yeah.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe.
We know that, sir. Now let's listen to you slip up, even though we heard you slipping up last time. And remember, guys, what is the new evidence in the JonBenét Ramsey case? That they are retesting and then never before tested. We're going to find out soon. We are finding out real soon, but let's watch John slip up in one of his latest interviews. This just came out days ago, and I found it so suiting for this episode with all the things going on. There's got to be partial truths. What did we talk about today? JonBenét's in the Epstein files. That's blowing up on TikTok. People still believe that. They want those files released without the redactions. New DNA rulings and fresh leads are put into this case. And yeah, Lisa Boo, I've heard a family friend is a possibility. Absolutely. All right, Emily, it's always good to see you. I'm glad you rolled on in. Make sure I didn't miss anyone. And Indy says, not AI. I checked. Sorry, Jay. Love you, Jay Mods. Okay. All right. And the owl's like, what is she talking? What is she saying? And then, where's my avocado super sticker? Well, love you. Just kidding. You guys, we forgot about the avocados. Yeah, yes, Deborah. He's like Daniel Martell. The more he talks, the more truth comes out and the more he slips up. All right, guys, hit that like button. We've been here an hour and 43 minutes. We have 213 people, and let's watch this man slip up and what Deception Detective has to say. Guys, I hope that this episode was eye-opening for you, and I hope you learned something new, even if it's just one thing. I hope you got something out of today's episode. And let's get justice for JonBenét Ramsey finally, before we hit 30 years.
When they asked for it. Handwriting samples. We had to write that horrible note right-handed and left-handed.
I'm going to find the note.
So they had samples of our handwriting, which didn't match. So they wanted to arrest us on probable cause. They probably did this, so let's arrest them. And beat a confession out of him.
John Ramsey has already confessed as far as I'm concerned, but that's another video. I'll link it below if you want to watch it later. Today, I want to continue analyzing his appearance on the Crime Junkie podcast and counting his compulsive lies. I'm Deception Detective, an attorney trained in statement analysis. This channel exposes lies and manipulations.
And we love you, DD. No matter what anyone says about you, we got your back. And all the ladies, I know you guys like him too. All right, let's go.
So if that's your thing, hit subscribe. For early access to new videos, over 60 exclusive videos, and other cool perks, consider becoming a channel member. Link in description. As I said in the intro, we're going to continue watching this interview because this is actually my third video on it. But just in case you're new here or you missed parts 1 and 2, don't worry. I'll put my entire JonBenét playlist at the end so you can catch up later. I'll also recap why I think John Ramsey is a compulsive liar specifically in a moment. For now, though, let's just get straight back into the interview.
I feel like there was like this circle where it was a lot of that, where I kept hearing like the DAs like get the evidence. The police would say, and I don't know what's true, the police would say, we're trying to get the evidence, but you're stalling us.
Right. Well,
Like,
that's kind of what.
do you feel like that? Like, and I don't know what advice you were getting or what was happening, but I do see moments where there are certain things where I think like phone records, like the police say they don't have phone records until like a year later.
Oh no, we gave him.
Wow. I think sometimes he just needs to be quiet. And you have to remember, back in 1996, that's all they really had was telephone records, fingerprints, right? And we can tell if you're a male or a female by your blood or your O negative, B, whatever. B, you know what I'm saying? That's it for evidence.
Everything they asked for when they asked for it. Early on, we gave them phone records, we gave them credit card records, full access to our bank accounts, everything they asked for. The only thing they asked for a year later, which they should have asked for in the beginning, was our clothing that we were wearing that morning, because they found unidentified fibers. Pubic hairs were not identified. A year later, somebody said, oh, you should have asked for their clothing. Well, they finally did, and we had to show us a picture. I don't even remember what we were wearing. But we gave them everything they asked for when they asked for it.
We gave them everything they asked for when they asked for it. At first blush, that sounds pretty cooperative, which is probably why John repeated it so many times.
It does, and he does say things to hammer home the point he wants. Again, he gets to put his narrative when he's like this, working with law enforcement, guys. A lot of people don't like him. I agree. Lisa Boo. All right. Family friend was with John in the basement. Now I just looked that up to see the timeline because we can run this episode for 10 hours and still not show you everything. It says not only did the Ramseys. Now listen, I'm going to answer your guys' question about the friends and the Ramseys. And thank you, Lisa Boo, always. Listen loud and clear to this. All right. Not only did the Ramseys bring friends over before the police arrived, they brought multiple people into the house. And this decision is one of the most heavily criticized aspects of the early investigation. All right. The clearest breakdown of what happened that morning and the timeline. Now, listen, guys, the timeline was Patsy Ramsey called 911 at 5:52 a.m. in the morning. She reported a kidnapping and a ransom note. At that time, they didn't know that JonBenét was already dead. Now, listen, before police arrived, the Ramseys called several friends. These people came to the house immediately. White, it says Fleet White and Priscilla White were close family friends. They arrived early and they stayed inside of the home. Also, John Fernie and Barbara Fernie, also close friends, came to support the Ramseys inside the home as well. And Reverend Raul Hoverstock, the family's pastor, arrived and entered the home before JonBenét's body was found. All of these individuals were inside the house before or shortly after the first officer arrived. Now, at 5:59 a.m., Officer Rick French arrived. It only took him like a minute. Multiple friends, guys, by the time Officer Rick got there, were already in the house. People were moving around the house, and the kitchen, the living room, and other areas were being used by multiple people. They were literally serving coffee to the people, and the ransom note had been handled by multiple people. Now, this created a contaminated crime scene before detectives ever arrived. All right. So, why it matters? Because bringing friends into your home, you're introducing multiple sets of fingerprints, added footprints and fibers, disturbed potential evidence, and it made it harder to reconstruct the timeline. Complicated forensic analysis of the ransom note and the basement areas, detectives have repeatedly said was one of the most damaging early mistakes. All right. So, bottom line, yes, the Ramseys brought several friends and even the pastor into the house before police arrived and before they even found her body. And those people freely moved around the house like it wasn't a crime scene. All right. There's a minute by minute timeline we can do and talk about, but I think you guys understand what I'm getting at. All right, let's go.
But if you actually listen to the example he gave there about the clothes he was wearing on Christmas Eve 1996, the onus was on the police to show him a photo of that outfit before he turned it over. In other words, it sounds like he was being cooperative in name only. And if you're a skeptic like I am, it sounds like he was only turning over evidence that the police could prove they already knew about. But before we get too deep into the weeds of John's specific lies in this interview, let's just bring everyone to the table and go over the type of liar that I think John Ramsey is. Here's a clip from my last video analyzing this interview.
We would send out a decoy car. Burke would be in another car on the floor in the back seat.
Just to go.
And they're shielding Burke. And guys, I got that ransom note in a PDF. You guys can see it. And you can tell that somebody wrote it in the way 110% to disguise their writing. Okay, I've got a shitload of evidence here that I'm looking at. And when I say a shitload, I'm not exaggerating, like I'm saying a million. Evidence and information in the JonBenét Ramsey case, there's a lot. All right. I'll quickly run through that with a note after. If you guys are interested, hit that like button and let me know.
To school?
Yeah, to go to school. And we'd get him to school unphotographed because we wanted to protect him.
What were the kids at school like to him?
Well, the kids are wonderful. And
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Is that leakage? We wanted to protect him. I even said that before. I heard him say that they were protecting their son.
And
I feel like that's the first time I've ever heard that. Normally school age kids are awful.
well, I say that, I mean, from my perspective, they seemed like they really were great.
Burke's classmates were wonderful.
Wow.
Really?
Yeah, really?
Well, I guess. I don't actually know. That's basically what just happened. If John
That sounds super fabricated, like he wants to make everything all good, right?
John's this casually deceptive about the small stuff, how can we take his word about anything important? Also, notice how John reacted when Ashley caught him in his lie, or guesstimate, or whatever you want to call it, about Burke's friends. He wasn't ashamed or embarrassed like you or I would be if we got caught just making up answers, which is yet another hallmark of a compulsive liar. And that's because they rarely take what they're saying seriously to begin with. There's obviously a lot more to that video, and I'll link it below so you can watch it next, but hopefully you can see why I don't consider John a run-of-the-mill liar. Besides lack of shame, here's the 3 other tells of a compulsive liar before we continue on with the interview. First, they lie for no particular reason, kind of like that lie.
And again, I've never came on here today and said I think John Ramsey did this, but I do come on here and say I think John Ramsey did things to mess up the investigation and cover something up for somebody, right? Remember, they had an indictment and the DA refused to sign off on it. What evidence did they have to make them think that they not did the death, but covered it up and compromised the case? Exactly. Makes me think they violate people to script evidence. Again, Murdoch. All right. He purposely called his lawyer friends and everybody else to come, and they trampled all over the crime scene. All right. And I understand about the support and being in shock. I do. Absolutely do. But like I said, in the Murdoch case, I think that he purposely did that. Did they do that? Maybe I'll give them the benefit of the doubt. They were in shock. Regardless, they messed up the crime scene by doing so.
John told about Burke's friends being wonderful without any firsthand knowledge of what they were actually like. Second, as the name would suggest, compulsive liars lie a lot. Most people don't lie as much as you would expect because lying is stressful. Finally, compulsive liars fold fast when they're confronted, kind of like we just saw there with Ashley and John. And that's the biggest differentiator between them and psychopathic liars who will stubbornly refuse to tell the truth even when they're confronted with evidence that they're lying. Think Casey Anthony, Scott Peterson, Darlie Routier, Stephen Stearns, and so on. All right, now that we're on the same page about what sort of liar John is, let's continue listening.
In fact, we were told by the DA two things later, years.
All right, guys, are you still with me? Yes. Yeah, I don't know either. Again, I don't know what the indictment had in it, but I'm going to tell you right now, what they did do in the indictment was blame them for negligence in the death of the daughter, which I'm imagining part of that indictment had to do with them compromising the crime scene. All right. Because there had to be documents in there. Again, they never charged them. They never tried to say they were going to charge them with her life, taking her life, but instead not protecting her life and compromising the scene. All right. Let's keep going.
Later, the whole police case was based on they didn't think we acted right that morning.
Yeah, who would know?
And the strategy to solve the case was to bring intense pressure on Patsy and I so the innocent one would confess.
What did they mean by you didn't act right? So like, what were the things that were bothering
That's
you?
the interesting thing. I read that there was one detective there, this woman who, I don't know if she'd ever investigated a murder or not, probably.
Linda Arndt, yeah. Because she came when it was still a kidnapping, right?
Yeah. They went.
Okay, so now we're listening to that. This would have answered the question here that initially they thought it was a kidnapping, so maybe they didn't know they were compromising the crime scene. But yeah, people were just coming over. They didn't know she was right downstairs. Allegedly, they thought she was gone because of the note, which I'll show you after this.
To the sheriff's office, got a book on how to deal with kidnapping. They didn't know. And
right. Nobody really knew. We couldn't go on the internet and say, this is what you do. And that was a good point. I can't remember who just said that. Patricia, that's a good point. The appropriate thing to do, we don't know. Right? All right, let's keep going. We don't know. But what wrong things they did? Well, we should learn from those. Don't mess up a crime scene.
I read her report much later, and it was just nuts. But the things that she observed would say, yeah, that's not what you'd expect because of the way she wrote it.
For anyone who doesn't know, Linda Arndt was the first detective on the scene after the Ramseys called the police and reported JonBenét kidnapped. So the fact that John is acting like he doesn't know her name is beyond me. Once again, it's something so bizarre that it could really only be explained by him being a compulsive liar. But that's not the main reason I paused. What really jumped out to me here was him saying that he read Linda Arndt's police report years later. That displays some sort of curiosity about what happened. It's actually what I would expect from an innocent person, but it contradicts something he said earlier in the same interview, at least in spirit. Earlier in this interview, he said he never asked Burke what he saw or heard that night, which to me displays a complete absence of curiosity about what happened.
Which is what it's the opposite of what they would do in a crime scene investigation nowadays. All right. We just saw what happened with the Tepe murders and the children that were in the house that probably didn't hear or see much, but yet they were still being interviewed by a child psychiatrist or a child therapist, what have you. They didn't do that back then. Why? Is that because it wasn't put into place as standard protocol? And I do understand there's people that are parents that are accused of being the perpetrator that aren't. I do get that. This guy's he's not always right. I'm not always right. Right? A lot of people aren't always right. It's just we're speculating at this point and waiting for the DNA to come out.
Maybe he's just really curious about what the professionals and the detectives think about what happened and what they discovered, and just totally ambivalent about what Burke might have seen or heard, even though he would have been a firsthand witness and his room was right by JonBenét's. Or, and this is the most likely scenario in my opinion, he's lying about not asking Burke what happened because I think Burke actually did it, and I think John and Patsy knew that, and he actually did read the report by the police because he wanted to make sure they didn't have any concrete evidence about that. Let's keep going because the lies only get bigger from here.
She said, I observed him going casually through the mail waiting for this phone call from the kidnapper. I was looking for another communication from the kidnapper. We had a pile of mail that had come through the front door slot, laying on the floor. I was going through it to see if there's anything else from the kidnapper. She should have been doing that. But she interpreted it as casually going through the mail while waiting for a call to come in. She also said 10 o'clock came and went. John didn't go nuts because we didn't get a call. The note said, I will call you at 10 o'clock tomorrow. I didn't know if tomorrow was tomorrow or the day we were in. So when 10 o'clock came and went, I thought, oh my God, I got to wait another 24 hours.
Man, when I show you the letter, it's gotta be, I mean, I don't care if it was, I care who did this, but this letter was so clearly disguising the handwriting, and what it says is absolutely, it's mind-blowing. It's mind-blowing that they haven't been able to do anything even with this. I wonder, were there fingerprints? Was there touch DNA on the paper? It came from the house. How the frick did that happen? I just can't get over what I'm reading. I'm behind here. I'm looking at the ransom note and the discrepancies.
For this call to come.
Damn.
So it wasn't a big surprise that he did call because it said tomorrow in the note. What was the other thing? It was just nuts. Oh, when he found JonBenét, he didn't cry. There was no tears. People react differently to trauma, but when I lost my daughter Beth in a car accident, JonBenét's older sister, I was mad. I didn't cry. I was mad. Why did this happen? I was mad at God with Beth. And then with JonBenét, it was, and what I guess they didn't understand was when they're making these observations of our behavior.
Bye, Mo.
When I lost Beth, I got a call. It was over. I couldn't do anything about it. I couldn't get her to the best medical treatment. I couldn't go by her side and comfort her. It was over. It was done. She was gone. With JonBenét, it wasn't over. I could get her back. And I really thought I would, but I had to keep my wits about me. And I had to keep my head together and do whatever I could possibly do, not knowing what to do.
There's so many problems here that I could go on about it for hours. And in fact, I actually have. I have an entire playlist breaking down lots of the things that John brought up in this clip, like the fact that a real kidnapper wouldn't leave any.
Oh, yeah. And I have that right here. Look at the writing. Look at the way that first they start out and then it starts to get shaky. It's like someone grabbed a pen and did this. Okay. Or they used a different hand. They clearly that especially when you start getting down to the middle of the screen, they clearly tried to disguise it. Anyway, let's see what he says. I'm going to show you it after.
Ambiguity about when they were going to call, because getting that money on time is their number one priority. Indeed, the person most likely to overlook something so fundamental would be a hoaxer pretending to be a kidnapper because they know they're never going to get the money, and that's not the primary reason for writing the note. In the same vein as that contradiction, John seems to have contradictory beliefs about the ransom note. In one breath, he says he thinks it was real and he was trying to assemble the money so he could pay the ransom and get his daughter back. Yet in the next breath, he seems to be ignoring the fact that the ransom note said he was being monitored. Neither he nor Patsy seem to have taken that threat seriously.
Interesting. And that is interesting because had somebody kidnapped your child and left a ransom note to that level of detail, and it says, don't call, don't get law enforcement. I want the money. What did they do? Are there records that he, called the bank? Because at the time we didn't have internet to transfer money. I didn't think of that right now. Again, we've covered this. I don't know how many episodes now I have, 9, 10, whatever. I put it in the playlist. Didn't catch that. All right, let's keep going. Sorry about that.
Seriously, they sent Burke back up to his room without any sort of surveillance. They didn't check downstairs until the police were there. Just like any made up story, whether it be a lying hoaxer trying to get away with a crime or a Hollywood blockbuster trying to tell a story, the plot holes are infinite.
And why didn't they go downstairs before law enforcement got there? That makes no sense. You say it will be a stranger DNA. I would lay money out on it. I have no money, but I do know. What's up, Sweet Pea? Wyatt says that's good writing for someone switching up their hand. Well, look, when you see it closer, you'll see what I'm saying.
One interview that we analyzed, John said that JonBenét looked peaceful when he discovered her in the basement strangled to death. The problem is people who are strangled to death rarely look peaceful. They have bulging eyes, they're discolored, their tongues are usually protruding. Basically, it doesn't look peaceful. There's plenty more in this interview, so if you want to continue this series, let me know by liking, commenting, and sharing. Check the end card for my links to parts 1 and 2. Until next time, stay true.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. All right, I'm going to show you this ransom note and a quick bit of evidence regarding or surrounding that it's almost, you can't refute it. I mean, what's up, Carly? Carly's in the house. Good to see you. Tiff, I think, got kicked off. I don't know if her internet's being wonky or what, but all right, I got the letter. I got the note. I'm going to show you, just quickly run down it, and then I'll tell you about what discrepancies that I found or what was found with it. So look there's closer now. You guys can see it better. Let me do this so you can see it even better. If someone was going to write a note, they would have written it ahead of time, not sit there for 15 minutes. All right. Bucci Man, what's up? I'm so glad Carly's here. It's good to see you. I hope you're doing well. All right. Family friend that was in the basement with John. All right, hold on. All right, take a look at that. Take a look at the letter and see how they started doing it. They started doing it and then it got blocky. When I see something like this that's flowing and then you look here and it's not, it's like a hard, right? And a hard T. And it was so hard that each one went through the paper. Nobody writes a W like this unless they're disguising it, unless they have a pencil and they're doing it on purpose with that type of pressure. All right. And it's hard to read. Listen carefully. We're a group of individuals that represent a small foreign fraction. We respect your business, which they spelled wrong, but not the country that it serves at this time. We have your daughter in our possession. She is safe and unharmed. And if you want her to see 1997, you must follow our instructions to the letter. You will withdraw $118,000 from your account. $100,000 will be in $100 bills, and the remaining $18,000 in 20s. Make sure that you bring an adequate size attached to the bank. When you get home, you'll put the money in a brown paper bag. I'll call you between 8 and 10 tomorrow. Now, I feel like when he just said that, when John just said that about the ransom and said, I didn't know what was today and what was tomorrow, I feel like a writing expert. They could have figured it out, and I'm going to tell you about it after. Bucci Mang, it's my Friday. All right. All right, listen carefully. It should be, please read. I'm doing it, Chamba. I'm doing it. I'm going to show you something as well. Okay, so when he interjected an excuse. Right now, we just heard John telling the interviewer that he didn't know what day was today or what was tomorrow. So he was like, anybody else that thought their child was kidnapped, that talks about between 8 and 10 in the morning, wouldn't he have rushed out and went to the bank to go get these kind of bills rather than saying, well, I don't know what tomorrow is or today, so I'm just going to sit at home, call my friends over and tell them about it. All right. Anyway, the delivery will be exhausting, so I advise you to be rested. If we monitor you getting the money early, we might call you early to arrange an earlier delivery of the money, and hence a earlier pickup of your daughter. Any deviation of my instructions will result in the immediate execution of your daughter. You will also be denied her remains for proper burial. The two gentlemen watching over your daughter do not particularly take you, so I advise you not to provoke them. They don't like you. Sorry. The people don't like him. Speaking to anyone about your situation, such as police, FBI, etc., will result in your daughter being beheaded. Right? Remember, she was strangled. If we catch you talking to a stray dog, she dies. Now look at this. That is important. If we catch you talking to a stray dog, she dies, but he picked up the phone and called all of those people. Right. If you alert the bank authorities, she dies. If the money is in any way marked or tampered with, she dies. You will be scanned for electronic devices, and if found, she dies. You can try to deceive us, but we warned you. You started that. You law enforcement countermeasures and tactics. You starred a 99% chance of killing your daughter if you try to outsmart us, follow our instructions. Hold on, guys. I'm sorry. Just 1 second. Okay. Thanks, guys, for hanging here. You guys know how we do around here. Baby Guilty needed batteries, so I wanted to not talk about this. Okay, let's keep going. Again, that is very odd because they talk about multiple people, and okay, still kind of odd if they didn't go out and do any of that, guys. Not only did they not do that, they called people over. That immediately deviates from not talking to even a stray dog. Okay? Don't try to grow a brain, John. You are not the only I can't read that. You're not the only 4 out around. Only I have it typed out, but I'm gonna read as best I can. I don't know what that says. Around, so don't think that killing will be difficult. Don't underestimate us, John. Use that good Southern common sense of yours. It's up to you now, John. And it says victory. SBTC. All right. I did the best I could with reading that. You guys can make up your mind what you think about it. But I'm going to bring you to this evidence page really quickly. Let me pull this down so I can give you a little bit of information about the evidence. Hold on. I'm sorry. It's messing up. Share screen, evidence right here. Okay, it says JonBenét Ramsey's body was discovered in the bay. Okay, we got all that, the 118,000. Then we got the initial. Let me just put this up for 1 second and I still have 203 people. You guys do love me. Okay, I don't even need my headphones on. Okay, listen, you guys are still here. Why are my shows going so long? I'm sure they were both aware married spouses are required to. Okay, all right, let me continue. Sorry about that. Can you hear me? Can everybody hear me? Okay, here we go. Listen, December 26, 1996, I gave you the timeline earlier, and in the timeline, they called people over, even though the note said, don't even talk to a stray dog. Okay. 5:30 a.m. They discovered the ransom note. At 5:52, Patsy calls 911. All right. About the kidnapping and the ransom note for 118,000. 8 minutes later, Officer Rick French arrives to meet a distraught Patricia and her husband. John advised Officer French their daughter was missing. John directed French through the house and pointed out where the ransom note was found. Officer conducts an initial search, but does not open the door to the basement where JonBenét would later be found. All right. 2 hours later, Detective Linda comes and all these other people arrive at the house at 8:10. At the Ramseys' early afternoon, detective comes, John Ramsey and families fleet white to conduct a thorough search of the house at 1:05 p.m. Guys, this is hours and hours later when people are there, detectives are there, they missed it. 1:05 p.m. John opens the door to the spare room / wine cellar and discovers JonBenét's body, which showed signs of strangulation and trauma. Okay, 40 minutes later, The house was cleared and secured by Boulder police. By 8:20 that night, they examined and moved the body. Okay? You see all that. And then I got the 911 recording, transcripts, dispatcher. We're not even getting into all that. It's Patsy telling them and explaining that they have a kidnapping and to hurry up. Then we go to the ransom note, and now we can see all of it. Listen carefully, right? Look at all that. Money, hence earlier pickup, blah, blah, blah. 99% of a chance. You stand a 99% chance of killing your daughter if you try to outsmart us. Follow our instructions, all right? Now remember, they said, don't grow a brain, John. You're not the only, I read it, you're not the only fat cat around. So don't think that killing would be difficult. Don't underestimate us. Okay, about the note. Is everybody still here? Come on, guys, hit that like button, subscribe, get a membership, gift a membership, all of that, all right? Also, if any of the mods want to drop my buy me a coffee link, that would be awesome as well. Okay. Where am I? My shows are getting longer and longer, right? Okay. Prior to the discovery of JonBenet's body, a 2.5-page ransom note was found. All right. About the note. The note was written from a notepad that belonged to the Ramseys, which kept on the table to the spiral staircase. Pages 1 through 12 were missing. Pages 13 through 16 were filled with lists and notes and doodles from Patsy Ramsey. Page 17 through 25 were missing, apparently not found in the house. Page 26 contained the words Mr. and Mrs. I, and they had some ink on it, apparently bleed through from whatever had been written on page 25. Now, page 27, 28, and 29 had been positively identified as pages that the ransom note were written on. Are you guys hearing this? All right. Now, the analysis. The ransom note is believed by all parties to have been written by the killer or an accomplice of the killer and remains extremely important clue. The language and the content of the ransom have been extensively analyzed by experts in linguistics, criminal psychology, and law enforcement. And here are some of the key points. The length and the detail. The length and the level of detail in the ransom note are unusual. Hold on, I don't know. Okay, why they keep opening the door. Sorry, guys. I'm trying my best to read this. You're a bit behind. What? It does look like my writing too. Thank you, Carly. We're going to Vegas, baby, and we're having a party in Vegas. Carly, did you see that? All right, let me keep going. Thank you. Okay, so listen. This is what the linguistics and criminal psychology and law enforcement. Here are some key points. The length and the detail of it in the ransom note are unusual for such communications. It suggests that the author wanted to convey a sense of urgency and seriousness while also potentially trying to mislead investigators. Familiarity with family. The author demonstrated intimate knowledge of the Ramsey family, referring specific details about John's business dealings and personal life. This level of familiarity could dictate that the author was someone close to the family or had conducted significant research. Again, guys, we don't have, we're not in 2025 where you can go look at someone's social media. Now, the emotional tone. The note contained emotional language and references to JonBenét being beheaded. If the instructions were not followed, the extreme language could be an attempt to manipulate the Ramseys' emotions and prompt them to comply. Now, the legitimacy of the ransom note has been a subject of intense debate among investigators, forensic experts, and criminologists. Here are some of the factors. Of course, handwriting analysis. Experts have examined the ransom note and compared it to the known samples from Patsy Ramsey and other individuals with the case. While some similarities have been noted, definitive conclusions about the authorship have not been reached. Behavioral analysis. The profilers have studied the language, tone, and content of the note to determine whether it aligns with typical characteristics of a genuine ransom communication. The unusual length and specific details included in the note have led some analysts to question its authenticity. All right. Type of person likely to write the note: an insider. Some investigators think the author was someone with close ties to the Ramseys or intimate knowledge of their personal affairs. All right. Also, you got to remember they used her pen and her paper, and it had other notes from her and the household, and it bled through. Now, we talked about the insider theory. We talked about the intruder theory. But an intruder or outsider may have written the ransom note as a diversionary tactic to mislead and deflect. The theory relies on evidence suggesting a break-in, right? Additionally, this theory is supported by an unknown male DNA evidence recovered from the scene. Hoax theory. Another possibility is the ransom note was part of a hoax or a prank intended to deceive law enforcement. Although, guys, I have to tell you, I don't know how that's possible when it was coming from inside of the house. Who was it that did that? All right. And then we're not going to go over all this stuff. It's the autopsy of JonBenét. We later find out there was Sam that we think she was SA'd. And then the crime scene photos are terrible. So I'm not going to, you can see a little bit of it. But I don't want to show the bad stuff. Right. They're small anyway, but you can see the staircase. That's where they found the ransom note, by the spiral staircase. I just don't want to show anything too graphic. There's the paintbrush. That's a brush that they used to for the garrote, guys. All right, they use that. There's the art supplies, which I can't understand why they didn't go in the basement in the first place. They also found a bat outside. Don't know what was on that. If that's where people guests stay, why didn't they go down there? All right. And you can see the bedroom, the back door on the outside, the front door. We got to see that earlier too. Right. Again, the window, guys, there's nothing on the window to show that someone put their hands to climb in. There are no footprints. That's what they're trying to convey here. All right. They're trying to convey, look at that. There's nothing interrupted. You don't see anything right here. No evidence. But then we see this being open, but nothing on the other side to indicate that they got in that way. Right? That's basically what was going on downstairs in that basement. And then there's another number 149 of the crime scene that you can see. This is the garrote, right? They actually they were showing that because they broke it off from a piece of the paintbrush. The garrote was the device meticulously constructed by an individual with expertise in the design, someone who possessed a thorough understanding of the process, and it's deliberately to inflict harm. Even the hair got caught in it, because with a garrote, you have to turn it and turn it and turn it, and then it would tighten, right? But they also got the rope here that was tied around the garrote and her hand with some hair in it. Okay. Again, I don't want to show too much of this. So I don't want to show too much. Several recently made unidentified shoe prints were found in the basement where JonBenét's body was located, imprinted on or in molding growing on the basement. In particular, a shoe print that said high tech on the sole. The owner of the high tech shoe that made the shoe print has never been identified. Okay. Again, that's their basement. That could have been somebody bringing the paint in and out, right? We don't see blood or hair, but people stayed down there. We saw that there was paint down there, right? We see that area. Look at there's concrete, there's paint, there's that white substance that looks like probably the area where the tape and the towel, maybe the blanket they covered her up with. Okay. So, this is where we are, guys. 911. No, How do you know she's been gone? No, please. I just got up. She's not here. Okay, be calm. Please send somebody. I cannot understand why anybody would call law enforcement when a kidnapper says that. Jay, the 911 call at Patsy thought they hung up and can hear a creepy kid saying, "What did you see?" And they told him to go to bed. Do you want me to play that? Let me play that real quick. On it. They said they found it next to the staircase, the spiral staircase, but that's neither here nor there. Crime Door is a cool app. You can see the crime scene. Oh, wow. Cool. Thank you. Welcome, Kim French. Okay, let me just let you guys hear the 911 call, and then class will be released. It seems like a lot of you guys dipped out. Let's play the 911 call.
911 emergency. Police. What's going on? 515th Street. What's going on there, ma'am? We have a kidnapping. Hurry, please. Explain to me what's going on, okay? There's a note left and our daughter's gone. A note was left and your daughter is gone? How old is your daughter? 6 years old. She's blonde. 6 years old. How long ago was this? I don't know. I just found the note. And my daughter's. Does it say who took her? What? Does it say who took her? I don't know. There's a ransom note here. It's a ransom note? It says SBTC. Victory. Please. Okay, what's your name? Are you Patsy Ramsey? I'm the mother. Oh my God. Please. I'm sending an officer over, okay? Please. Do you know how long she's been gone? No, I don't. Please, we just got up and she's right here. Oh my God, please. Okay, somebody. I am.
Remember that this was 5 something in the morning as well when that happened. But I am very, 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 very surprised that nobody went into the basement until after 1 o'clock. That makes 0 sense to me.
Honey, please take a deep breath. Please, okay? Hurry. Patsy.
All right, so it's definitely good to be able to hear the call, even though it's crazy. And since I played it, let me just take a hold on. Let me go back to this so make sure you guys can see it. Thank you guys so much for being here and supporting my channel. A lot of info was in the recent article about them in the Boulder local paper. Yeah, I just read a bunch of articles that just came out as well. But let me just tell you real quick. You guys heard the 911 call. She sounded like she'd been running. All right, so let me just tell you, just because it was hard to say. 911, Patsy says, "Police, what's going on?" Patsy, I'm at 75 15th Street. What's going on, ma'am? We have a kidnapping. Hurry, please. Explain to me what's going on, okay? Patsy says, there's a note left and our daughter's gone. The dispatcher says a note was left and your daughter's gone. Yes. Dispatcher, how old's your daughter? Patsy says she's 6 years old. She's blonde, 6 years old. Dispatcher, how long ago was this? I don't know. I just found the note and my daughter's gone. Dispatcher, does it say who took her? What? Dispatcher, does it say who took her? No, I don't know. There's a ransom note here. A ransom note? It says SBTC Victory. Please. Okay, what's your name? Are you Patsy Ramsey? I'm the mother. Oh my God, please. I'm okay. I'm sending the officer, okay? Please. Do you know how long she's been gone? No, I don't. Please. We just got up and she's not here. Oh my God, please. Okay, calm. Please send somebody. I am, honey. Please. Take a deep breath. Okay. Hurry. Patsy. That's it. Now, I did not hear anything in the 911 call, but I do remember hearing that they did not want Burke involved in any of this, and they told him to go up to his room And ultimately, they told law enforcement that he was sleeping. All right. So that's where I'm going with this. Again, today, I'm just I don't even need these because I don't need to hear anything. Today, I'm presenting, is JonBenét in the Epstein files? We still don't know for sure. Probably not. But do they know each other? Was Ghislaine there? New DNA rulings and fresh leads. What's going to happen with the case? And basically, not only did we cover that, but we also did a rewind and went back over evidence that we originally had from the beginning. All right. So that being said, there's a lot of information. I want to make sure I didn't miss anything here. And let me put this up. Hold on. Remove this and put this up at the stage. We want justice for JonBenét. What evidence is new? What's going to happen? Who's going to be involved? Etc. Etc. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Your time here today. I hope that you can go over to Ghost and check it out. Let me show you real quick. That just so you know that we post several times a day. Sometimes share the screen. A lot of people are like, "What is Ghost?" That's my platform. It's called guiltyofcrime.ghost. All right. And in this particular post, we've got JonBenét Ramsey, facts and fiction. There's a whole article. There's extra crime scene photos, lots of photos of her. Again, these are all disturbing to me. I do not like these. But when you're asking about my Ghost platform, it's because I had Patreon and somebody reported me. They didn't like what I had on my Patreon and they deleted my account. So we now substitute that with ghost.org. That's the kind of stuff you're going to find on Ghost. Again, there's a ton of pictures on here. It names the events. You can learn more and see more pictures. There's a ton of things. Autopsy photos, 911 calls. Guys, that's just one of the posts that I have. All right. If you actually were to look at all of the posts, look at that. We just posted 7 hours ago. Human remains found. Right. Look at it. Did you guys even know about this case? I don't always get to go over every case because I only have 5 days in a week. So this lady was found. They were looking for a Belgian tourist and they found her remains. Right. So there's another case that you might not have known about. That was posted 7 hours ago. I plan to cover the Devlin Tate case. Somebody reached out and asked me to. Where is Devlin? He's autistic and he's still missing. All right. He disappeared at the age of 18. Where is Devin Lee Tate? And we go on who he was, when he disappeared, when he was last seen. The family responds, a missing poster. I mean, it goes on and on. So cases are what we cover here. And a lot of the cases are cases that we don't have time to cover on Guilty of Crime. All right. She sounds authentic. Thank you guys. I appreciate you. What's up, Mally? Good to see you. All right. Miss May, make sure Miss J knows you sent 25. I will definitely. I don't know who sent that, but Indy Isham says I sent 25 of coffee, but no one saw it. I don't get a notification yet, but I will be able to check that out. And let me see. I definitely would love to thank you. I'll have to pull up my I don't even have it here. Hold on. It says support Jay. And I am responding. I just hadn't seen it yet, Indy. So, oh, you did. Indy Isham became a supporter. Love you, Jay and Mods. And she came in hot with 25. Thank you so much. I'll have to start checking that out as I'm going. I'll put it up there so I can not miss anything. Thank you, Wyatt, for letting me know. And Indy. All right, this is Ghost, guys. We never covered this case. We didn't cover George Cole Jr. and Ryan, the 11-year-old that ultimately was found. Remember, Ryan was found. He was zip tied. He was returned. This guy tried to take his own life, and now he's brain dead. They now took him off life support, rightfully so. Okay, so a lot of cases, the guys that you email me about, and you are like, Jay, cover this case. It actually is already covered on guiltyofcrimeghost.org. All I have to do is take that and translate it to Guilty of Crime on YouTube, and I make an episode. All right, we've covered the vigilante justice. This is obviously a new update because you can tell by the date. Okay, so there you go. There's a ton of stuff. Layla Underwood, Michael McKee, higher district attorney, Sebastian. I've been wanting to share this. The Sebastian, a creator, reached out and said, please let people know about the gathering of voices for Sebastian and to share the flyer for February 26th, Sumner County, right? I mean, that's what we're doing. We're covering as much as we possibly can on Guilty of Crime and then on Ghost. I never covered this on Guilty of Crime. I killed Daddy. Pennsylvania boy 11 shoots dad after the Nintendo Switch gets taken away. Right? You can see the dates here and the information. So I hope that clears up for everybody what the hell Jay is talking about when she says, go sign up for Ghost. That's what I'm talking about. See? RJ Davis case. These people were originally arrested and charged, then they found him, then this guy tried to take his life, and now he's dead, right? So updates, cases, missing people that we don't always get to cover. Layla Underwood from Chicago, still missing. If we find out that they found her body or she was recovered, we'll post an update. All right? So, I mean, I think you guys didn't know all about all the stuff here. Missing child and mother. Look at that. You know what I'm saying? So if you guys are jonesing for more true crime, more missing people, you want to know about all the stuff, go over to ghost.org, Guilty of Crime, and sign up. It's free to do so. But if you want to go that next level and get documentation, pictures, etc., then you can pledge to Guilty of Crime for a monthly donation. Otherwise, I'm out. 2 hours and 35 minutes. Let's get justice fast. It's been almost 30 years, and we still need to look at this case and find out who did it. All right. On that note, love you guys. Thank you, mods, for enduring the 2.5 hours and everybody else. And we hit that goal. Mwah. See you guys tomorrow, 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 7 p.m. Eastern. Love you. CrimeCon 2026, baby. Good night.
Guilty of Crime.
I want to thank you for watching. If you enjoyed my content, please share this video, like, and subscribe. You can also follow me over at Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, X, or Gmail. If you'd like to donate to my channel, you can use Cash App or Venmo or PayPal. Thank you very much in advance. Guilty of Crime.
Are you guilty?